And we're live.
And there's Chris's doggy walking in the background for a second there. He was all, I'm in the kitchen. Here I go.
Yeah, let's do an intro. What's up, everybody? It's us from Quietly Loud. Us, because
we were being quiet.
It's not functioning today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, top of your screen, we're sick. Bottom of your screen, they're not sick.
Yeah, we are not. We're not doing great. But I did manage to set up a little display back here for everybody.
I see that shit. That shit looks cool.
Yeah.
What is
that? That's some uranium glass being lit up by a black light.
Fucking cool.
Yeah, that was just.
We should make like a super sick display case, Drew, and we could use like the silver metal flake across the bottom and have a shitload of the
black neon
black lights around the outside, and it will illuminate from every direction all crazy and light those things up all wild. Be fucking
I was waiting for you to go, Bobby, to go and then pour some epoxy and do this and do that.
Well, that's it. It'd be epoxy mixed with the metal flake. Yeah, that's how I.
Yeah. And then we'll use the there's a company called Waveform Lighting makes the 165 nanometer LEDs. They're like $190 for 16 feet. They are super expensive.
And what
they're badass.
They're super badass black lights.
Yeah, they're so there's like the purple black lights most people see. That's cheap stuff. You can get that for $1 on Amazon. The good stuff from Waveform is 16 feet for $190, and it's basically totally outside of the visible spectrum. So it'll just light stuff up, but won't like that one. You see, it's only lighting up that you don't actually see purple light.
Right.
That's what that is.
That's like the LED lights that Steve Mead and I use to kick Sunflash.
Yep.
So I have like 4 of these lights, like Steve recommended me to buy, that are, I mean, they get a little warm and shit, and they'll kick Sunflash in a reasonable time frame when we're fabricating.
I remember when Sunflash came out, bro. That was like game changing.
Yeah, I mean, I have a whole bunch of how-to of Sunflash. Sunflash doesn't shrink, so there's certain applications where it's way better, but there's certain applications where you got to be careful because you could fuck yourself, because sometimes you want that shrink. Sometimes the shrink of a regular
tighter.
Yes, it'll pull itself tighter, because I made a part and I stretched my my fabric, but then the Sunflash like kind of lubricates and weighs and softens the fabric, and then it kicked and it was all saggy and I had all this fill work to do. When I like to stretch things, pull it really tight, and resin it, and then I do all my reinforcing work from the opposite side, and then that way there's minimal finish work to do on the outside.
Big brain move.
Everybody's got their way to do it, and then there's the right way.
For those who don't know, below me, we got Mr. Limitless, Chris.
Sir.
Limitless Lithium, and then now SoundQubed. That was definitely, I was not expecting that announcement. Was it directly after the barbecue?
Yeah, at the barbecue we launched. We announced it at the barbecue.
Yep. Dude, I was not expecting that. I mean, I've been running, I've been having SoundQubed or been known of SoundQubed for 10 years at least, forever.
Your area of the country is where I first saw SoundQubed, like going down to
Scraping the Coast.
Scraping the Coast is when I first saw SoundQubed at Scraping. It was either at Scraping or Heatwave, one of the two.
It was probably Andrew McCullough and the Black Nasty.
Yeah, I remember that forever.
Yep.
Like before Roundhouse was even a wall. Like it was a no wall doing garbage.
So it was audio. It was Audio Cube.
Audio Cube, yeah.
Audio Cube.
Yeah, Audio Cube.
Yeah.
Why did they change that? Just curious. Why did they change that name?
They had to trademark infringement.
With another brand that was really close in sound and name, it was too close,
they weren't in the. From what I remember, they weren't in the. They're not in the same industry though. They were just being kind of dicks about it.
No, this other brand's in the same industry. Not speakers and amplifiers, but wires and accessories.
And they were called Audio Cubed?
Nope, they were called something similar that I don't know if I can share and not drum up old problems.
No worries.
Just like Audio Technics.
Yeah, very, very close, very close. So yeah, and that's the only reason they changed the name. But it didn't last very long. Audio Q, from what I was told, it was only a couple years. So like, SoundQubed started. Well, Audio Q started 02, and then it was called Audio Q. And then it was 2 or 3 years. So like, by 05, it was swapped to SoundQubed. Maybe even 04. I don't have the exact history, but it was very quick.
Yeah, I remember when the 2200, the AQ 2200, that was like the nuts amp back in the day, because it's kind of a cheater amp, and it made a ton of power.
Ooh, it's cheap and it's badass.
And our Q2200, our Q1 2200 is the updated version, but still follows along that same line. That 2200 is kind of supposed, what kept that amp alive.
Yep. That's a great.
I remember being high school. That was the amp to get, was the AQ 2200.
2200 watts was big power back then. That was like, whoa, you got 2200 watts, wow,
bro.
Yeah.
And it did well. I mean, 2000, we were just getting 1,000-watt amps.
My brother
2004, and all of a sudden it's like 2,000. You're like, whoa,
yeah.
My brother sent me a video from just 6 years ago of the Nitro with AGM playing down in like the 10-volt range. I'm like, man, people who just get into it in the last couple of years are so spoiled to power and batteries.
You swung through Atlanta and came to an SIDB barbecue at that little restaurant. And I don't even think Limitless was a thing yet. You had the Nitro, and I remember you playing to like 10 volts in the Nitro at that barbecue place.
That must have been when my brother had a drum corps thing. And we drove up there so he could do it.
Yes.
And I drove the Nitro because I was like, why not?
And I remember like you were killing it. I was smelling voice coil, and I was seeing 10 volts, and I was like, that dude's wild. I'm not doing that. My truck.
Yeah, man. Well, I mean, that's just who I was brought up around in the SPO, like down south, like Brett Arsenault and all those guys. I mean, all we had was AGM, and all we knew was to send it. So
the Bloodbath still doesn't have a voltmeter in it.
See, that's why
people are like,
have a voltmeter.
You don't have a voltmeter, and I don't think it's voltage dropping.
What doesn't have a voltmeter?
Coil. And people are like,
the Bloodbath.
That's how you know if you're, and it'll play all day.
Bobby, I'll send your free voltmeter, brother. Please.
We don't need
you should make a voltmeter and have it say like it says voltmeter and it's crossed out and it says clip light, and then like
there you go.
Exactly.
I can't confirm.
That's how I know when I'm clipping in the Raiden. I mean, I have a voltmeter, but I don't have a clip light. But I'm like, I got to be clipping if it's pulling like that. Like I'm just looking down at it when I'm demoing. Like,
So a 1987 Isuzu will continue running at 8 volts. Can confirm. Have checked.
So, during the showdown, even on that huge bank I have, when it would hit clipping, the voltage would just tank. It's crazy how much that affects your voltage.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Almost more than like drawing too much. It's that dirty
Chris,
signal. It's crazy.
You're the guest here. Let's focus on you a little bit. So how'd you get into the batteries? Because I know that came before SoundQubed, obviously.
Yeah. So me and Matt Leash and Roy Rose started Limitless Lithium in 2016. Started really, I wish Matt was on the show. I'll give him some props. Matt was the guy that, he saw another battery that was made by another company that now doesn't make batteries anymore. But one of our buddies, Zach Pope, had bought in a battery, and it was a lithium, and it died in I don't know, less than 6 months. Didn't last very long. Zach said, "Hey Matt, see if you can fix this thing or see what the heck this thing is, right? What is it?" So Matt took it apart, and he's one of those guys that when he gets his mindset on something, he takes it apart and he's like, man, he saw the concept behind it, but saw that there was just a lot of things that weren't done, in the best way, and nobody knew we made crap back then that we've improved on over the years too. He saw some things, and then essentially, consulted people smarter than him. He grew up in Florida, had a buddy who's an electrical engineer down there, and just started really playing around trying to figure it out. And really wanted to just make some batteries for ground pound, and he'd already bought the Gorilla. So our Limitless Gorilla, they bought that from Zach Pope. That was Zach Pope's Tahoe. That Tahoe was the first Tahoe in Georgia to do a 60 sealed.
Damn.
So, and that's when Zach Pope had it. And this is like 12 or 13, like way back, right? Zach's still one of the baddest dudes in car audio, but in Georgia, right? And he, he's got a I don't know, SS4 build or something, the 70s, But anyway, Matt bought that from him to build a Rose Auto build before Limitless existed, because Rose Auto did a lot of big builds. They built Ground Pound for me back in 15. So in 16, he was just trying to figure out a way to make something cool for the Gorilla and cool for Ground Pound, because I had 20 excess power D3100s in Ground Pound in 2015. 20. Okay. And I still couldn't play my stunt wall and my subs full tilt because my voltage would drop. I had four rear facing 15s and then 6 15s in the cab, and I couldn't even play it all. So he ended up consulting an engineer and 20. It was 1,800 pounds of AGMs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was nuts.
Well, that's a lot of money too, because those are like, unless you got
$400.
Yeah, it's funny because I had like 8 of them, and then James Taylor, the guy that built JP's Tahoe 5 years ago or so, he lives in Alabama, like 3 hours from me, and he tore apart his build at one point, and I bought like 10 of his used AGMs. You're talking 14 or 15, right? Yeah. 6 of those AGMs are still running DS18's test bench in Miami.
That's crazy.
And one of them is still in my 40-foot gooseneck trailer to power my winch. Like, they're still floating around. But anyway, so when Matt gets his mind set on something, he's going to figure it out. So he's going to hire people that are smarter than him. And he figured it out. And what we figured out is, hey, we got some really cool batteries. Let's do something. And then I was like, man, I think we might have a business, man. This is good enough where maybe we can sell these things. And he's like, nah, that's not true. So I said, man, let's give me a week. Let's think about this. Let's do some market research. And there was very few people playing in that world yet then, right? I mean, JY had been less than a year. Scotty was just starting to mess with his lithiums. There was very few people doing it. So,
Chris, what were you doing before you did Limitless?
I know the answer to that, I think.
Yeah, heating and air is what I still do now for work.
Oh,
yeah. I still own a heating and air business. We built a really big business, and I sold it in 17. And then we started another business. And my business now we kind of refer to as kind of our legacy business. My son and my niece run most of the day-to-day operations of it. And my brother-in-law and sister and my wife and I, we funded it and still run the business with them. But the goal is to let them take that and me to eventually do nothing but audio if I have my way about it. That's what I want to do. I want to do nothing but car audio. Awesome. But anyway, so Matt,
you are preaching to the choir.
So we all want to do.
We all agree, and we hope you do, because you're fun. Yeah,
you get that freedom from having clearly knowing how to build businesses and heating and air for sure.
Yeah, my other business was really big. We had 9 offices in 6 states. We had 240 employees. We had when I sold it in 17, I had 141 trucks.
I tell you, the AC business in the South is serious. We're not playing, and we're not playing about the cold. If it's cold, we better get the heater on.
Yeah, you're right. In Atlanta, boy, if y'all ever come here in the summertime, it's like 95, 160,000% humidity. No wind, no breeze. It is brutal.
But then it'll somehow be negative 40 in the winter too.
Yeah, they don't play about AC here though. People will bundle up some, but in the summertime, you better come now. So it was good business. So we sold that and then still doing it. And then Limitless, so Matt kind of created the first one, and then we just started digging into it. And then Roy Rose, who used to own Rose Auto, is Matt's partner because Matt also owns Rose Auto with Roy now, which is a 12-volt shop. They do a lot of trucks and audio, and he's an amazing fabricator. And Roy went in. The 3 of us started Limitless in 16, and then just grew the business. Roy is an unbelievable salesman and a guru at everything 12-volt and everything he wants to put his mind to. But Roy, I don't know, 2019 or 20, he stepped away and went to do real estate, and he's no longer part of Limitless, but because he got out of the 12-volt industry for the most part, because he's been doing it for 30 years. He's older than me. He's in his 50s, and still a rock star guy, still my good buddy, but he's not part of Limitless anymore.
Yeah, he'll have that.
So that's the history of Limitless.
That's crazy, man. I remember whenever I first got back into audio. This is 2017, I think. No, it would be late 2016 because it was right after the flood of 2016. And I was we'd done the no wall build with 3 SoundQubed HTC3s on a Sundown 6000 on a single D3100. So we had good power on a stock alternator. So we had solid power, solid 9 volts. It was great. We were going to do ended up walling nitro, and I had the choice between doing 6 XP3000s, which is like the bulk storage excess power batteries, or the JY, I guess, K2 batteries, or like this is the very beginning of lithium.
Yep.
I was like, I don't know about this lithium stuff yet, man. I'm probably just gonna do AGM, and that's exactly what I did, and it was all 600 pounds of it, right there.
Yep.
Heavy.
Yeah.
That's 2 7500s or 2 6000s, and it was. You see, I had the power supply permanently mounted in the vehicle.
Yeah.
Because AGM was just not doing it. But
yeah, it's crazy the difference that it's done for car audio.
I didn't believe that it was that I didn't understand like how it worked. I was like, there's no way there's that much energy there. I didn't understand that it was how fast the energy moves. Yeah. That was the biggest thing.
That was the biggest thing.
We decided
there's still a lot more in there. It also moves faster. That's where the real magic is.
And that's the difference. People get caught up on like amp hour and stuff, and there's so much more to it than that. So, when you're dealing with it,
same plant power, single battery.
Wow.
Is that your nitro?
Yeah, this is how it is currently, actually.
Gotcha. What amps are those?
Cab 2000s.
Oh, I didn't know they came in different colors. That's cool.
Yep, they're red and black. I don't remember how we ended up with a black one, but at some point I was like, hey, this is before Nathan Munson bought it. It was when Kurt still owned it. I was like, hey, Kurt, I need some 2000s. He's like, a pallet will be at your house next week. And a pallet was at the house next week. So we have a pile of these. And we ended up doing our first 60 street beat ever was with this setup. $200 amplifiers and a single battery.
Wow.
And I was like, wow.
Street beat. So you weren't just burping, you were playing music.
That was music, yeah.
Yeah.
And we did it at Scraping the Coast when it was 1 billion degrees.
Yeah.
But no, the first time I think the first lithium that I trusted was Limitless. I was like, that's gonna be the first. Like I don't like a lot of those guys were doing those DIY packs and this and that. I'm like, I like my vehicle a lot.
So real quick, my knowledge of lithium batteries came from racing RC cars. And RC cars started seeing lithium batteries in like 06, 07, 08. The first lithium battery I had ever seen at an RC car racetrack that same day burst into flames and almost burnt the track down and left like a greenish haze of cloud of smoke through the whole like RC pit area. And I saw a fireball that must have been 10, 12 feet in diameter squirting out of a battery this big. And it made people very scared of lithium batteries, as they should have been in RC. Like the guy made every bonehead mistake you could make all at once. First, he forgot his little dongle that made it cut off when it reached a certain voltage and ran his battery down too low. And then his charger wouldn't charge it. So he hooked it up and he lied to his charger and said it was a NiMi and was charging it to get it peaked up. Wow. And then he forgot he was doing that and had packed the battery into the battery storage pack with a whole bunch of nickel metal hydride batteries in a battery case. And then he went to lunch.
Oh,
yeah. And then this guy woke up. How many mess ups can I do in an hour?
Yeah. Oh man, it was like we couldn't even believe it. The dude was so embarrassed and ashamed. He never came back. He was like, wow. It was sad. He's a really nice guy. He's a super nice guy. He was a good, fun dude to race with, and he was cool. And he was like, "Check it out! I got this battery." And he was all showing us all, and we're like, "I can't believe how light it is," and all this shit, and this whole. And then like 2 hours later, we were on fire. But so that was the other time. Yeah. I was the next time I saw some with lithium batteries, I was at an outdoor RC race, and this guy had a monster truck thing that he was racing that was converted to electric, and he had done something wrong. I think he only charged one of his 2 batteries that were linked together. And so the race started, and he was like 1 minute in, and his truck was not going very fast. And then it was on fire, like a lot on fire, like a little melting plastic thing that's on fire. And they put it out with a water hose.
Yeah.
And about 30 seconds later, it was on fire again. And it was like, whoa.
All they could have did was bury it. That's it.
Yeah. And like, all you're doing is just stopping the oxygen from getting to it from starting a fire again.
Yep.
No, they'll burn without oxygen.
That was the first thing I did before I put lithium in the truck. My Tahoe was I went to the local fire department and I asked them, I was like, what do y'all do for lithium fires? And they said, well, little lithium batteries, just throw them on the concrete and let them do their thing because there's really nothing you can do. It's shorting on the inside of the battery. There's nothing you can do. I was like, what if
energy has to escape?
I was like, what if it's like 200 amp hour and big? He's like, what?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, it's going to be for a stereo in a vehicle. He's like, have good insurance on the vehicle, I guess. I was like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Great.
No, once they start running, there's nothing you can do.
It's going to run. It's going to be over.
Yeah. But I mean, AGM batteries have done that, have caught fire. It's not like batteries never.
Oh yeah.
And anything that stores energy can catch on fire. If that energy has a reason to escape or is mistreated, and that energy is going to escape. And
anybody who's been in car audio for more than 10 years will know Scott's Excursion that burnt down, or the F-350 or whatever it was. The Pioneer truck. That was all AGM.
Yep.
And nothing you can do about it. Stuff.
I'm sure that was just happenstance, 100%.
Yeah, just stuff happens. What is the advantage of LiFePO 4 versus others?
I mean, there's, the primary, like we use primarily LiFePO 4 in all of our batteries because they work really well in stock charging ranges.
And they're super really stable, aren't they?
They're what?
They're super stable, like very.
Yes, they're very stable. They're very forgiving. Because you're not really supposed to ever discharge any lithium battery outside of its range, depending on the cell. The cell dynamics and the configuration you're in, 4S, 5S, whatever it is. So like for our Retro 56s or our Retro Pro series, if you run that battery below 10 volts or any lithium outside of those parameters, you damage that cell. That's no different with an AGM. People think, oh, well, I've been draining my excess power D3100 down for, 10 years and just jumping my car off and charging it. Well, every time you do that, you damage your AGM every single time. Same thing with lithium. The difference is the damage is more extreme because you're dealing with something that has a much denser, it's a much denser energy storage. You have a lot more energy in a small, compact area. So you're going to have bigger repercussions. It's like taking 10 D3100s and putting them in a little box and then killing the car and jumping it off. It can be bad. So, but LiFePO 4 is very forgiving. You're not supposed to be able to do that, right? And you do damage the battery, but we have tons of customers that have done that and they've recharged the battery the wrong way by jumping off. John Rabe, if he's watching this, John has done it in the van 6,452 times. Makes me want to kill him. But it's
my Gorilla batteries were at 0.
Yeah,
they were at 0 volts, and we put them on the Limitless little 15 amp charger, and I was like,
Since we're talking on that, let me put this out here now for people to see this. If you ever kill a lithium battery, the best way to do it is not even put it on one of my chargers or any charger. You have to cycle charge it very slow. So I want you to take a 1 amp or a 2 amp, like a tender charger, something you use on your 4-wheeler or something. Put that puppy on there 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. Take it off. Let it rest as long as you had the charger on there. So if you had it on there 10 minutes, let the battery sit for another 10 or 20 minutes, right? So that, because the cells are essentially just looking to eat whatever energy you're throwing at it. And when you have all that space and it's dead, it's going to build heat. So we call it cycle charging. There's not really a term for it per se because you're not supposed to do this, but I call it cycle charging, which is put it on for 10 minutes, take it off 10, 15, 20 minutes, let it rest. Do that over and over again slowly. It might take you a few hours, but the battery will come up really quick because you'll get to 12 volts really fast in a 14-volt battery, the 13.2-volt nominal battery. You'll get there really quickly because it looks for all the energy it can, and you'll get to 12 volts. Once you get to 12, 12.5, then you can put it on a regular charger. But cycle charge it to get it back in the 12s really slow, and then put it on a regular charger to bring it back up to proper charge. Don't just throw one of our 25 amp chargers, an 8 amp charger, or a
so don't use a PSC 90 in power supply mode.
Loco 2600. Don't
zero gauge jumper cables to the truck.
There you go.
Don't jump it with another demo vehicle with 200 amp hours and 3 alts and
no. Everybody kills lithium. They need to send it to Andrew and let him jump it with 7 alternators.
Exactly.
Let Andrew take his 7 alts and hook it up to dead lithium, and it'll make it perfect.
So we
cycle charge. Always hit us up for that. That's how we want you to get your batteries back healthy. You still damaged them, no matter what you damaged them, but maybe you can bring them back, and that's the best way to bring them back if that's what happens.
Do you think LiPo 4 is the best chemistry that can handle that? Like compared?
No, I still think an LTO. I still think an LTO is inherently. It will take that abuse maybe a little bit more. I've
What's
seen
an
the
LTO?
gorillas.
Which batteries are LTO?
Like the batteries are
Gorillas. The G series.
The G series. I think the G
like
series.
I forgot.
Yeah. So the problem with LTO for me in the everyday application is when you have an LTO and a 5S or a
the voltage is a little low.
You're still, if you got a car that's charging in the 14s, you're really going beyond what those cells like to be charged. And then if you put it in a 6S, you have to charge that thing really in the 15s for it to perform well. So if it's your everyday audio setup that doesn't want to charge in the 15s, an LTO doesn't really fit for that consumer. But if you're a bass head and you want to charge in the 15s, it's really hard to beat the Gorillas, man. The Gorillas are a beast.
You know what drives me crazy about a lot of the audio scene is like if someone asks for a recommendation on a battery, they're obvious that say they ask in a very obviously they're not educated on batteries type of way. People will recommend C-Max or all these DIY batteries charging the 16, high 15s. I'm like, my guy, not everybody, most people actually don't want a battery like that.
Yeah.
They don't want to charge in the 15s. Most people definitely don't want to charge in the 16s. They don't want to raw exposed cells.
Yeah.
And people always
great performance. A C-Max bank will do really
great.
Well. And you charge that thing in the 15s up to 16.
I'm not putting that in my wife's car. I'm just not.
Exactly. That's the thing.
No chance. Zero chance.
And the other part is like NMC and the NMC C-Max cells, they have like a 500 cycle life, 800 cycle life, right? Where most LiFePo 4 has like 2,000 to 4,000 depending on the cells, and then LTO is 5,000 to 10,000. The LTO will obviously last the longest, but that's why some of these C-Maxes go is that you have no idea how many times that battery's been cycled when you pulled it out of the junkyard already.
That's what I was going to say. Like you don't have any idea how matched up the cells are. There's so much that goes into. I mean, depending on how big of a bank you're building. If you're building a real big bank, I mean, it's almost guaranteed those cells they weren't produced next to each other. They're not new, obviously.
Right. They're
not bad.
Is there a way to match the cells like they do with an RC car battery, or is that just unrealistic?
Well, you could balance the whole thing, but the thing is they're not like batched as far as you might have one cell.
The manufacturing, they're not manufactured exactly the same.
No, I mean, and they're not get lucky, and you might get a single battery out of a car that has a bunch of batteries that were back to back to back to back. But if you build a big bank like Steven has, there's 100% chance you have cells made in different years.
Yeah.
Right.
And what Steve was talking about, Bobby, what Steve's talking about is built in batches. Even though it could be built by the same manufacturer and it can be built a month apart, the characteristics of the cells can be different because they were pulled from a different batch of lithium. So the absorption rates, there's small nuances that make a big different deal. Chris, no, do not wire your LTO to your Cyber 12K. They are over a volt apart, and the Cyber will ultimately end up killing your LTO because the Cyber will be a parasitic draw on your 35 amp hour. So
we've heard obviously we do things that are not optimal because we are fine with breaking things. We are fine with testing things. We ran an 80 amp hour LTO bank charging to 13.8, and it did I was pretty impressed with it. It was in 6S configuration. Looking back, I realized we should have wired it to 5S, and we would have been at the top of a 5S bank.
Yes. And the thing is that it'll work, but you're never seeing the full storage capability. So you're always just hitting the bottom of that battery.
Yep, exactly. Which is,
Yep. So you're essentially running. I mean, you're drinking out of a beer that's never more than 3 sips full.
That's exactly it.
Man, my beer is empty.
What's up, Seth?
I told my wife to bring me a beer in about 15 or 20 minutes. It's been like 30, and I'm hella sad.
I might have to go get one. Chris, so I saw you dropped off ground pound at John's. I know we talked about it a little bit at SEMA. I thought you were just dropping it off there, or were you just trolling us with it being sold, or what's going on there? Or do you not even want to tell us? Which is fine.
No, John's probably gonna be mad at me, but no, it's a troll, man. I didn't sell my truck.
I was gonna say,
I figured this is. I extrapolated some big, like, wild fantasy of like John is gonna help Chris have me build a bunch of shit, and John's helping with the payment for it, and you're gonna switch it all to fucking Trinity or Gately or whatever fucking gear or some wild shit. And I was like, this is gonna be cool.
Or all SoundQubed or something, yeah.
Or I guess that's right. We talked about it. It should all be SoundQubed, right?
Yeah. So John's doing some stuff to it that I'm not gonna say what exactly we're doing as far as doing the stuff, but it is getting some sky high treatment. On another level that we're going to show off at the barbecue. I'm flying out there. I'm transporting my Super Duty out there. I left my 40-foot trailer there. That's why he's talking about he's driving my trailer around. Hey, that's my trailer, John. Back up. But so and actually technically it's a Limitless trailer, so I guess it's a little his too. But anyway, so it will be unveiled at the barbecue. Bobby, we still have to talk about getting it some Bobby treatment. It definitely needs some Bobby treatment. Definitely.
Man, I tell you, it is, for years, it has been one of my favorite builds. The work that the guys did on that, those doors and all that other shit, that shit's kind of legendary shit. So for me to like step in and rebuild some of the shit that's existing, I'm going to be like, man, I can't believe I'm taking this fucking thing apart. And
those doors are 9 years old.
Those doors are sick as fuck.
I don't understand how it took me until SEMA this year to ever. I've never heard it. That's the first time I ever heard the thing.
I heard it you was kind of broken, and you played it for me anyway. The first time I met you at Slamology.
Yeah,
18, Steve. The first time I came out, the first time we did the thing.
Hey, better late than never.
Yeah, come on, babe. Yeah, Steve said better late than never. I was just complaining that you were supposed to bring it to me in 15 or 20 minutes, and it's been 30.
It wasn't me.
Oh, jeez. I have a kitty cat visitor.
But so that's what's happening with it. I mean, it's going to be sick when it comes back out, and then I'm hitting. Our goal is to really go to a pretty heavy show circuit, even more than I normally do. I'm going to go to the barbecue, then I want to go to Made of Steel in Florida 2 weeks later. 3 weeks later, I'm going to Slam. 2 weeks after that, I'm going to Scraping. So I'm going to.
Speaking of
shows
Made of Steel, are we going to steel cage that thing for you or what?
Ground pound?
Yeah,
I'm dying to steel cage the thing, man. I mean, if I
we're getting really good at it.
If I had my way about it, I would literally rip the whole middle of the truck out and steel cage it and put my rear firing base back in it like I used to have.
What do you mean if you had your way? You do have your way. You are Chris.
I don't know if I have Gately money, man. That's a problem.
Shit,
money.
Bro.
We send you an invoice at the end of every week.
Yep. I'll have to pay you in batteries.
I don't know if you've ever looked, but I'm pretty sure I've sold more batteries as a brick and mortar store.
So don't tell him that you'll give him batteries for work.
Any other shop on the planet. I put a Limitless battery in damn near every install I do.
You genuinely are our biggest West Coast brick and mortar. We have a couple guys on the East Coast
that are doing
that do a lot like you too.
Cool. I just don't do that many installs. They're all large enough scale, and they're always like, how many of these Group 31s do I have to run this 8K? And I'm all 0.
8.
And they're like, really? And I'm like, yes, you're going to have one of these. And they're like, oh. I'm like, if you really want to be an overachiever, you could put 2. And they're like, should I? And I'm like, I have 2. And they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. If you have two, then they have to have two. That's just kind of how it works.
Right. They're like, what are you running? Oh, I'm running an 8K. How many of those do you have? 2. I'm like, cool. Right on. Like, I'm gonna put a retro 56 under the hood of my truck, even though my 2 retro 30s that it has currently operate everything just fine. For peace of mind for me, and so that my customers understand that level of peace of mind only costs them an extra $1,500. And some people just being like, I have all the voltage I could ever need, and parting with $1,500 is not a big deal at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean,
some people.
like, essentially, like, well, it's like eating dinner, right? You're like, is that gonna be enough food? I better go ahead and get some of these this quesadilla thing as well.
Yeah,
and at the end, I'll order that little chocolate cake. Yes, and you get all the extra. And so they go, I got a $90,000 truck with a $30,000 suspension system and $30,000 in wheels, and I'm going to put a $10,000 audio system in for $1,500 more. I can be really, really confident that I'm never going to think about voltage at all when I operate this ridiculous thing.
Those people for sure.
Not everybody lives for that. But
yeah, you live in California, dude. Like everybody's halfway to.
Okay, I have 2 vehicles that got shipped to me in the last few days. One is from Hawaii, and the other one is from. Well, it's actually from Southern California, but it's not local. I don't do very many. I do less builds that are from Sacramento than I do from people that are way the fuck out of town.
This sounds like big California, money to me, buddy. That's all I'm hearing. Big money. Big money.
Yeah, I actually drove through Sacramento. Sacramento's kind of hood. Like
most of it.
Oh, and the customers that I get that are from Sacramento are either entrepreneurs, like dudes that own their own business that are like, yeah, I'm a fucking badass and I want my shit to be badass and I'm not fucking around with some bullshit. But or they're hood and they got all their ass drug dealer money and they're like, you think I should put an extra battery? And I'm like, yeah. And they'd be like, I'll work a couple extra hours tonight. And what they mean is sell more cocaine.
You got to push it, right? You got to push it.
Yeah. Oh, whew. Yeah. Hey, I think I'm like, that's fucked up. I don't think I've ever done an install for any pimps. So I don't think I've done that.
I mean,
maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, but like I said, you are dealing with generally a more higher end clientele. Like trying to sell a pair of Limitless batteries to someone in my area, not a thing, but it's just not a thing.
And like that's why
fucking Brian is what, 2 hours from you, Brian Rogers?
Nope, 4 hours. And in Houston, no. Houston population alone is double my state. Double.
Yeah. Really?
A lot of money in Houston too.
Wow. That's nuts.
Yeah. And Louisiana is the 49th poorest state. So I mean, what we got, bro? What we got? We got no money. And we got
what's weird is like Vegas, there's no culture like a big audio system outside of our little community. Like it's not a thing. Like you see some of these big lifted trucks, but none of them have systems in it. Like very few. And
everybody's got a stereo.
I don't know why.
Everybody has a stereo.
It'd be flashy, but no, I don't know what it is about this town. But audio stores don't ever do well.
Baba is asking about subwoofers. Yeah, you could put a couple of my alphas in that Fox box, and they would do pretty well. And the Fox box is a great box, and it'll perform really well. And you could later on, get the Gately box and get 2 more alphas and a bigger amp or another one of those amps, or you could get a SoundQubed 2200 and you'd be
What's
really
an AC LC 1800? What is AC? What company would that
Audio Control LC 1.800. Okay. It's not an 1800, it's a 1.800. Very nice high-end amplifier, but not super powerful. So 2 alphas would do well on that. 4 alphas on 2 of those would do really well. 4 alphas on 4 of those would do really well.
Those audio controllers.
4 alphas on 8 of those would do really well.
Yes, 4 alphas on 8 of those. Yeah, 2 ohms. Yeah, the dual 2s. That'd be freaking cool.
I didn't
those
know
audio control amps are expensive, aren't they?
They are pretty pricey. They are very nice though. I've had some good results with those amplifiers. Yeah.
My son just texted me and says that I got a big forehead on a live feed. That's pretty nice.
It's the lighting. The lighting is coming top down on you. I have to make sure the light comes right at my face right here. Otherwise, it makes my nose look really big. I don't really have a very big nose. But if the light comes top down, I look like I'm like, oh, yeah. So
my hair is receding back, so my forehead's even bigger than it normally is. It's already big, and then hair's all gone. So
okay, so a good reference of how weird you look is if you look at Steve and Drew and how their beards melt into their black hoodies.
Yeah, actually,
just as weird because you have top side lighting, and then my forehead is all wrinkly and shiny all at once, and my beard is like blotchy. We all look pretty fucking weird and old.
Yeah. Drew, before he turned the light up, looked just like a floating face. It was like a floating face.
Yeah, exactly.
How to get my beard to show?
You turn your light up. That's why. That's why Donnie was like, get more light on you guys.
Speaking of, they just never delivered your light.
I think I'm okay with how much light I have.
On the SoundQubed thing, something else we're trying to bring out next year is I bought about a year ago. I bought the Power Supply van, which was an old van from the 90s, right? An Astro van that Aerostar that. I was the first
Aerostar.
Yes.
I want a fucking Aerostar hella bad. An Aerostar has the same suspension as a fucking Ford Ranger. So I want to take an Aerostar and jack it up like a lifted pre-runner fucking Ranger. Ford Ranger. And then
I just realized it's not an Aerostar, it's an Astro. I don't know why I said it was Aerostar. It's an Astro van.
How dare you?
I got so happy for
got me all excited.
It's an Astro. Yeah, it's an Astro van. It's a 93 Astro van. And it has the original airbrush that was done on it in 29 years ago, in 1993. And it is still like an 8.5 out of 10. It's still sick. It's the first real loud thing that I sat in when I was 14 years old in 1993. It's the first thing I sat over a 150. It had 818s in it, all kicker. 818s and 8/8s, right? All kicker with PPI amps. And he did 152s in that C-pillar. And it was like the baddest thing I've ever seen in my life. And I had a chance last year to buy that same van. And I bought it, and now it's going to come out in 2023 as an all SoundQubed build. So we're going to build it up like it was, but I'm putting back the wall. It's not about this thing's not going to break a 60 because I don't want to tear up this truck. It's going to be a mirror image of what the 818s and 8/8s were in the C-pillar wall back in the 90s. So it will be a really cool looking build.
Are there any
did you really cry man tears when you purchased it? Is that a true story?
Dude, I really cried. Like for real, I cried. Oh, my son. There cool. We go. Jerk.
No,
but,
dude. No,
I get it.
Bad at all.
That gives more like I'm
stuff
a
like that's emotional,
baby. I'll cry over like a fucking really good motocross race or some shit.
I'm pulling up some pictures beautiful.
But like,
dude, yeah, like whenever I was tired for one, but whenever I saw the Kicker Bronco on the show on the SEMA floor and saw my logo on it, it's just like I had to like compose myself a bit. I was like, damn, bro, like that's it, man.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, there you go. There you go.
Look how happy he is.
Yeah. I that was right before I cried. Yep. So
that's pretty cool.
The van when I picked it up a year ago.
I want to see that blown up speaker thing on the side of that thing.
Dude, the detail is still so sick, man. It is crazy.
Somebody kept it stored appropriately so that it didn't get beat up.
No, actually, believe it or not, it's still it was actually used as like a paint van.
Really?
Yeah, it's nuts. I don't have a ton of pictures on here yet because it's still just sitting under a car cover in my garage right now. So
there's no pictures.
Isn't it funny how some things that can mean so much to so many people can get just devalued and like used as it's just a van. It says crazy. This stupid shit on the like people are putting fucking goddamn Eddie's airbrush fucking or Eddie's fucking goddamn mobile dent repair fucking sticker over the side of a legendary, you know, like, or whatever. Like, that's the craziest shit.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's crazy. So it's going to come back. I already have the seats being redone in the original green and purple and gray tweed interior.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's nuts.
There's a bunch of like old school builds that are coming back. I know that there's one from around here. I'm kind of tired. His name's escaping me, but Prestige Audio. He was an old competition group guy. He has what's his name? Anyway, his van is still as it was in the late 90s, 100% playing. It's currently getting some paint fixed right now. And it's supposed to be coming back out this coming up year. They're gonna like do like apparently him and a couple other guys do like an old school tour where like these builds are 100% as they were. I think they're going to update batteries only because, like, 20-year-old
it's probably sitting there all rotted.
They're just not working anymore.
Yeah.
But they're supposed to be bringing back much of the old school builds. And I'm like, man, that's to be awesome to see.
I'm trying to find.
There was a local guy that had this old Astro van, and it was all white, and it had a whole bunch of interior fiberglass work, and it had a bunch of JL. It might have been W3s or W6s, 15s, and they were all over the inside of it. And he had that thing sitting there, and he was kind of a weaselly, shady dude, and he went out of business. But every once in a while, I think about it, I'm like, where's that white JL van at? Like, where the fuck is that? Because it was heavy, and they had reinforced the suspension, and it had 3 alternators, and like it had so many pieces of the puzzle that a build needs, and it looked in the outside looked really clean. It was like all white, and it had like a body kit and shit, and it was pretty badass. Like, I'd love to, like, when people resurrect an old ass build that was done in like the early 2000s or the 90s, that's like, it's fucking cool.
They're almost impossible to find now. I mean, most of them have just been either pieced apart or rotted in some field somewhere. Like that yellow van that Justin Haddock bought. I can't remember who owned it before that, but that was like a really old competition van. And when they got it, they got a good deal on it, but it was in a field. But they ended up having to basically gut the entire thing once they like tore the roof off, and all the wood was rotted, and it was a huge mess.
I heard a rumor that a yellow Blazer is getting rebuilt.
Who had a yellow Blazer?
Yes. Whatever, dude. Cares
what? That's what I heard, man.
Whatever the fuck happened right there, I don't even know shit about it. That was funny.
Drew's got to be Drew's yellow Blazer with the first Rockford Fosgate, whatever one is that?
No, Fukuda's. Mark Fukuda's Blazer.
Oh, okay.
Well, no, I didn't have a yellow Blazer. Sorry, I had that was in a Zuzu. Watch yourself.
Oh, what? Okay.
Yeah, I was in a Zuzu.
Same fucking smell.
What? Yeah.
I thought it was a square body S10 Blazer, but okay.
So hot coil and 8 volts. JVC radios will shut off at 8 volts, but Rockford amps will not.
Yeah, my kicker amps would play to like 9.2 before they turn off. We figured that out.
A moment ago, somebody asked if any of us have ever farted in the bathtub and tried to bite the bubbles.
I'm a fat guy.
You have.
My bubbles always sink. So
any farting adventure I've probably done.
That's a fact.
And my son wants to pick on my forehead. By the way, here's my son. Look at that picture of him. By the way,
well,
so he wants to pick on my forehead. There you go, Chris. Now your gold grill.
Father like son.
I can see.
I know what you got to look forward to, Chris.
I can see that forehead from yesterday.
Our kid's the best.
I was trying to find a picture of the old wall in the van. I can't find it, but I'll post some pictures up later of how it is. It's a really weird sealed enclosure design that is not going to be that loud, but I don't care. It'll still do 50s. Yeah, it'll do 50s, and it'll be a cool build because it's going to have all the throwback stuff in it. I even got 4 gold letter kicker 8s, old school in perfect condition, original gold letter kicker 8s.
Those are before my day.
Yeah, way back, right? And this van had gold letter kicker 8s at one point, so our kicker 18s. I mean, so I got them, and I got a PPI 2250, and I'm going to put that on a little Bluetooth system all by itself in the back doors as a little throwback thing. So it'll be all SoundQubed, except for I got to pay that little bit of homage to Kicker because they're like the OGs. So you got to do it. Them and Rockford will always be. And GL Audio. I grew up in South Florida, so I actually, as a kid, and this is kind of nuts, but I crawled in GL Audio's dumpster because they would throw out subs and stuff that worked. Like I had a W315 that they must have dropped or something, and the motor was shifted. I put that thing on its face and I tapped it with a hammer. I was like 13 years old. I tapped it with a hammer. I'm sure I ruined the gap and messed up the throw of it, and the coil would rub a little bit, but that thing played for 2 years. I tapped it until coil didn't rub anymore, and that W3 worked, and I pulled it out of their dumpster.
Nice.
The owner of JL is sending you an invoice tomorrow morning.
Yeah, for real. But I mean, those 3 companies were the OGs. So I lived like 15 minutes from their factory. So
man.
Speaking of throwing away stuff, like I'm sure you guys know, but the Rockford Fosgate's policy on like those 2 big subs, they don't make recone kits.
Field destroy.
Recones. They're just field destroy, throw them away. That's what they want you to do with them. I don't know if any of you guys knew that, but the Neo and the T13 or whatever the hell.
That's how the T1s and the T2s were when I was at the shop. So the Isuzu would randomly eat subs, like one every 6 months. So just randomly, the cone would bend because it was made of metal. Anyway, our Rockford rep at the time showed us how to pull the stickers out without cutting the sub apart. So he's like, go ahead and pull 2 stickers out and file a warranty claim on them now, and then you'll have 2 spares. I'm like, That sounds sketchy.
Damn, you just got your rep fired.
He doesn't work for Rockford anymore.
I can't believe you can't recone those things. That's nuts.
You can. No, you can.
I can recone that shit.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. Well, fucking LordofBase.com and fucking measure that shit and get me a 2.5-inch coil and a cone and a easy peasy.
Well, yeah, I guess as a Fosgate dealer, you're not allowed to do anything with either of those. I don't know if it's the older or the smaller subs too, but for sure,
I want to say at least the P. I remember the P2s and P3s being field destroyed too.
And if you get caught like reconing them as an authorized dealer, you will.
Oh, that would be lame though.
Well, can you imagine throwing away
all that? You got too much shit going on.
We did.
If you're a fucking 18-year-old kid and you find a way to manipulate my warranty and recone a Gately fucking sub somewhere or some weird shit like that, fucking go ahead, little kid. I'm rooting for you.
Yeah, I just couldn't imagine.
Hey, I found one of your motors in a basket in a dumpster, and I want to know how to fix it. Be like, here, kid, there's Lord of Base, and this coil should work. I'll fucking figure it out for you. I don't fucking.
Well, that's what's cool. Like, I think of myself sitting in this van when I'm 14. I'm 43 now, so you're talking, almost 30 years ago, right? And grabbing them subs, and as a little kid, became a bass head. So that's why I look at anytime there's kids coming to these car shows, I love it because. You see like their eyes light up and get a passion for it. That's the only way that the hobby is going to continue in the future, is that you get the next generation of kids getting to see it. That's why I love going to SEMA. And it was so cool to go to SEMA because we got to introduce people to car audio that they never see builds like us.
Anything like that. They had no idea that shit was a real thing at all. Hey, Chris, do you remember that little boy? He was there on Tuesday and Wednesday. There was a 8 or 9 year old kid.
Yes.
And he was coming around and he was looking at everybody's build and he was scared to get in. And he came walking up one time and I was in the middle of giving this guy a demo and I hopped out of the truck and I was like, get in right here. And he climbed into the driver's seat and he's standing there. And I was like that. And I hadn't cranked the bass knob all the way yet. And I'm like, just turn that all the way up for me. He's like, and he was like,
oh, you let him run the knob.
Oh, I just turn it all the way up. I mean, that's
the way
I do it.
I wonder if the little brother of the idiots that took over my truck. That might be the little brother. See, you started something.
I know, dude. It was and this kid was ecstatic. He was having so much fun. He climbed out. I'm like, I high-fived him, and I climbed back in, and then I looked, and I had one sticker left in the console, and I was like, shit, I should have gave it to that kid. And 3 hours later, that little dude came coming around the corner again, and I was like, hey man, hop in over here. And he came around the other side and he climbed in, and I gave him the demo, and I was like, let's try this one. And I gave him like an extra click, and I was like, and like, I was scared. I was like, I don't want to blow up any more subwoofers in the fucking Raiden. But anyway, and I turned that sucker down, and I handed him that, man, he was like, awesome. And I was like, dude, this kid is gonna be a bass head for the rest of his life. And it wasn't just the Raiden, and it wasn't just, you know, ground pound and the motorcycles and the boat and the you know, the bloodbath and like all of us. It was SEMA. And at that, I don't know if that kid's ever been to SEMA before, but I fucking doubt it. And he's like, dude, I went to this thing and there was thousands of super duper badass fucking cars. It was the most beautiful thing ever. I saw this, and then I got in this truck, and I got in the other one, and I looked at this. This dude gave me this sticker, and I had it on my window for 20 years, and my mirror and my bed, you know what I mean? A vinyl cut sticker will last on an 8-year-old's fucking bedroom closet door or mirror or whatever the fuck until he is gone to college.
Yeah. And you know, go ahead.
That kid will fucking be on this shit for the rest of his life. He will have audio systems in everything forever. He may end up in this fucking industry on a stupid show like this, telling this story to the 4 dozen people that watch it every week.
Telling how this one time he got a demo from Bobby Gately.
Dude, I was at the thing, and I fucking saw the ground pound when it was black, when it was all DS18 shit in it, before it had all the, you know, and like the whole, and you gotta know that shit when you have an opportunity like that.
That's one thing that was so good about our area at SEMA, is that it's literally the only area that you can interact with the cars. Besides
you could get
putting a helmet on and standing in line for 4 hours to hopefully get a passenger seat.
To get a ride in a Tesla? That's like a mediocre ride in a Tesla? Fuck that. Yeah. My buddy will take you and put you in his fucking plaid, and he will rip your whole fucking face off, and you will shit yourself if you're not careful. You're like, You're like, okay. Like, we're doing 110 on Auburn Boulevard and Sac, and people drive like shit here.
Whoa.
This is dangerous.
So Steve, is there going to be what's going on for next year? I know we just got over it, but I mean, is there going to be an opportunity again?
I hope so. I haven't contacted them back yet. I was going to follow up. We'll kind of give a couple weeks, because I know those guys leading up to it, they work like a gazillion hours, and they usually take a couple week vacation after. But I'll pitch them the same type thing I did last year. Express how perfect the spot was, and hopefully we can do it again. And how it seemed like everybody on the SEMA end as well as on our end was really happy with how everything went. So I don't think, I mean, the first day they let us demo all day, and then we had to drop it down. But even when we dropped it down, it seemed like, you know, everything was good. I mean, we were respectful, and, you know, I was trying to be really intentional about not abusing our privilege, because I wanted to be back, you know. So 100%. That's the attitude we all needed to have, for sure. And everybody abided by it, and for the most part, everybody was there to crank it up for their 10 minutes. But yeah, I am going to ask them again
on Wednesday that caused a little bit of static, but once we sorted out everybody's time clocks and shit, it was really good. And then we did a couple of like kind of testing how far we could go on Thursday morning with like medium level. And man, I could crank up the Raiden loud enough to where if you were in 20, 30 feet of it, it was fucking rocking and it sounded badass. But if you got 45 feet away, you could maybe tell that you heard music. And that would get that crowd of people that were coming in through the gate, and they'd like walk up and they're like, whoa, this is crazy. It's got like 15 clicks left in it. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, I can't turn it up or they'll get mad at me. But if you wait until this time, we're going to turn all of these on. And they're like, what? And I'm like, and you can get in. And they're like, I can get in. And there were people that would sit there and wait 45 minutes.
So they were there when we first started.
If we can do it again next year, hopefully we should literally, I mean, I'll pay for a freaking sign or something. Like somehow we need to be able to tell people when they can come. Because
But
at the end of the day, people are coming back, and
there's the main issue with dealing with SEMA is that because we are given the spot and we're kind of there as a attraction, if you will, they don't really know what to do with us until the very end. I'm figuring this out now because it happened 2 years in a row. I figure that's what's going to happen again next year. They gave me the 100%. We're going to do it months in advance, but I never know what the hell's going on until
the
week.
last.
It was like 5 days before this time. It was like I was like, I got people coming from all over the place
that be in the fucking alleyway.
No, the first time we were supposed to be in a much better spot, then Optima decided they wanted it. They moved us. They're like, this is the only spot we have left. The only reason we got the spot we got this year is because somebody had it before us. They pulled out to move somewhere else. So they threw us there last minute.
What was there last year?
Ford.
Nothing.
Well, Ford was there, wasn't it?
No, where we were. No, that's where Hoonigan was last year.
Yeah, but they weren't quite as high. They were like.
Yeah, but they still wouldn't. We still wouldn't have been able to be where we were if Hoonigan was there.
No. Last year when I walked up and I looked at that spot, I was like, it was empty, and I was like, dude, that would have been perfect for us because we could have got people to come to Hoonigan, and then.
If we were near Hoonigan, whoo-wee. Yeah. Like, because when they would let loose from Hoonigan, we would have been buried.
I feel like
everybody's ears would be acclimated from all the burnouts.
Yeah,
I'd like to try to talk them into us having a spot around Hoonigan, like for that reason, to have something for the people to do while Hoonigan isn't doing their burnout sessions.
Their shit together, yeah, absolutely.
But I'd have to imagine the booth space around Hoonigan's probably pretty pricey, and they're probably not willing to really give that up.
Hey, that fucking tire launching and landing on that truck is going to cheapen up those spaces around Hoonigan next year, baby.
That's true.
We have tanks for vehicles. Just put the tanks by the Hoonigan guy. That'll be all right.
Right. If that fucking tire lands on my windshield, I'm going to blame it on my subwoofers anyway, bitch.
Absolutely. I'm going to float the tire in the window. What are we doing?
Oh, fuck.
Well, they don't even need to.
Give me that fucking tire carcass. I'm fucking.
The only thing we need next year that we didn't have this year is a big killer audio side by side. The audio side by side world is a thing now.
Did you make it inside, Chris, to the North Hall?
I did briefly, but I was hunting. I was running. When I went inside, I was going specific. I was going to my battery competitors.
I can't remember whose side by side it was, but there was a side by side in the North Hall that when they turned that thing on, I was probably 100 yards away, and I could feel it playing. I know we were inside.
It was in the.
But it was loud, bro. Loud.
Sure. Was it a big Ranger with a big lift on it and a roof and some T2s under the seat?
No, it had like a wall. It was big.
Oh, it was walled. Okay.
I saw it. I can't remember. It might have been Fosgate. I can't remember.
No, it wasn't Fosgate. It was over there by
It wasn't fucking.
Was it the jet ski behind it?
Was it Drive?
Mm-mm.
No.
It was. I know what you're talking about. He's a dealer for me. That thing, his side by side and the jet ski all have Limitless or UTV batteries in it, and it looks like a modular wall almost, but it's not, and it's stupid loud. I was talking to him because he was showing me where he hit a bunch of our batteries in there and stuff. So
I can't remember what company it was.
He has a jet ski hooked to the back of it.
I mean. Yeah, dude. If you want to build one, I'm totally down to have it as part of the.
I know a guy that could probably build one fucking super sick for you and trade you a stack of batteries.
Drop off a side by side at my house. I'll build one.
So yeah, but so if we can work out a side by side, TJ couldn't come. We had TJ ready to go, but it was too last minute for him. We were actually talking today, and he said, "Look, man, he 100% will have his green bourbon ready next year if there's a spot, and he has a matching green side by side, a Can-Am Maverick that is just.
Oh, that sounds dope as
fuck. It is freaking nuts.
I think. Hey, Steve, I've been meaning to talk to you about this. We need to make okay, we are inviting you to this. These are the parameters of engagement that we expect you to be responsible for. You're going to have a person at the vehicle the whole fucking week. They're going to be explaining the ins and outs of the vehicle. That is a sexy fucking beast right there. You're going to when the opportunity to demo the vehicle is there, you're gonna play your fucking shit every time. You're not gonna find an open bar and go get fucking drunk midday and be a goddamn slacker. There should be a responsibility
Agreed.
to,
and if you say you're going to be there, you be there.
Booth.
Yes,
because there was way too much. Now Chris and John, and they had lots of other shit going on, but they were busting their ass to get back and play a lot of the time. But if they had known that they needed to have somebody there the whole fucking time, both of these guys would have very easily had somebody there operating those vehicles. And
well, my plan, I agree. If we can do it again next year, my plan, Limitless we're getting a booth in one of the halls next year. So
nice.
We'll have a booth in the hall. So some of my time will obviously have to be spent in there.
Sound like money.
Yeah. And then you could also, you could definitely.
But I'm going to make sure somebody's at that booth at our area too, because then they can direct people inside. For me, obviously, I'm not trying to turn that outside area into a business solicitation, but I will then be able to direct people to our booth to go learn more about our product.
Yeah, well, and vice versa.
Here's the thing, the car audio industry is so fucking small. It is a fragment of the size that it could be. And the reason why it is so small is because there's so many fucking shitty ass products and shitty dealers doing shitty work all over this industry that taints the shit out of it. So people are like, I will never do car audio again. I bought a brand new car and these assholes at fucking shithead audio over here fucked my brand new vehicle up. And I hated the vehicle. I barely held on to it to another year until I was so fucking sick of it. I tore all that audio shit out. I traded it in, and I'm never putting a fucking other audio system in my vehicle again. There's more guys that are more people that have that attitude about car audio than there are people that are my style of customer that are like, oh no. I'm not going to risk getting my vehicle fucked up by somebody. I'm going to ship you my vehicle for $1,000 so you can put a basic audio system in it so it doesn't get fucked up. I'm going to pay you a extreme premium, and then I'm going to pay another $1,000 to fly myself there, spend 2 days there, learn how to operate my audio system from you, pay you for teaching me, and then fly my ass home and then have my truck shipped home because I don't want to put the miles on it. There's far more people that are like, fuck that. I'm not getting my car ruined again.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you are making awesome products for awesome dealers, making things better, right? Because dealers that suck are scared of lithium, and they should be, because they're gonna have shitty grounds and they're gonna have shitty electrical, and they're gonna have fucking problems, and lithium batteries don't go together well. So they'll make fire, and they fucking know it. So they don't bother with that shit, and they shouldn't. So
and too, I mean, my brother-in-law, who's a partner with me in SoundQubed, right? You know, he went to one of the highest end shops in Atlanta, and they win awards on all the best installer top 50 awards across the nation every year and everything. And he had a Sony, you know, he's got a 18 Super Duty, and the factory radio went out. So he put a Sony Mac Daddy 10-inch screen, you know, all the jazz in it. And it was still, they didn't get it working right. Then they didn't hook a Sirius satellite radio up. Then it didn't work with his steering wheel controls. 4 trips later, he goes there, and the Sony radio that he's paid $2,700 installed for still doesn't fully work right. Like, it's still not as good as this factory integration. And that's exactly what you're talking about. And this is like a high-end shop, you know? So you're right. We have to do better. Our industry has to do better, because
I don't have to do better. I just got to keep doing what I'm doing. And all these fucking slackers need to level their fucking sorry asses up, because there's way too much of that.
There's only so many people that want to spend thousands of dollars to ship and fly. We need that. We need a Gately in every city. Well, that's what will grow the industry.
Yeah, I think that the SEMA thing is going to help broaden our audience to these higher end clients as well, because the people that are coming and going through SEMA, there's very few of them that don't have a pretty deep pocket that are walking through there. So they see
just
super
paying
nice
for the damn hotel, being in fucking Vegas the week of SEMA.
All these guys are industry owners or big deal brokers or whatever. And yeah, we could show them the higher end side and appeal to enough of these people to there. Now you see these big lifted trucks, instead of them just spending 60, 70, 80 grand on suspension stuff, like let's throw 20 or 30 into the system, the sound system, because look how nice they could look how good, and hopefully change the culture that way. Getting rid of like the small shops that do shitty work, I don't think that's ever going to be a thing.
No, we won't get rid of them. We won't. It's not possible, because there's always somebody that is on their phone and they're like, hey, I was wondering what it would cost to get a system installed in my 2017 Silverado. And these guys are like, we'll do the whole thing today for $2,000. And they're like, I just called Gately Audio and he told me the box was $1,575. They're like, fuck that guy, he's a dick. And then they go, and then they show up, and then they take their truck that probably cost 65 grand, and they fuck the truck all up, and it sounds like ass, and nothing works right, and they didn't tune anything. It's half the installer. Listen, half of the installers in the entire industry, on average, do not understand how to set the gain of an amplifier. They don't understand how it works at all.
Half sounds like you're giving too much credit.
It's the bass volume knob. You turn up the bass boost, and then you turn that up
you turn the bass just all the way up.
That's it. Turn that gain all the way up.
How is it not a volume knob if it gets louder when I turn it up? How's it not a volume up?
I probably thought
no. I mean, I get it. Some of them know how it works, and they go, you know what? Somebody along the way isn't going to get it, and they're going to think I had the amp not up as much as it's supposed to be, so I'm going to go ahead and turn it all the way up.
I wonder how many are just like, I turn all my gains up to a third, or I turn all my customer gains up to half.
Oh, yeah.
I just go to half, and we're good.
Yeah, and then they change your radio and wonder why the whole thing sounds different.
I had a fucking customer. I had a customer that melted the input leads on one of my Alpha 6.5s and was like, I have a SCAR amp. Right, he had 4 Alpha 6.5s. I have a SCAR 2,000 watt amp. I tuned it with a DD1, and I'm like, okay. When you tuned your DD1, what volume did you have it set at? Oh, I don't know, like 25. How loud do you normally turn the volume up when you're listening
40.
to 30? Yeah. Why? I tuned it with a DD1. If you tune the fucking thing to 25,
that's your limit.
Then you should stop at like 27. But yeah, 25, bitch. What the fuck? Did you and which setting? Which track did you play? Did you do it at the -5 or the -10 or the -15? Which one did you do? He's like, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah.
Hey, Jesus help me. Yep. No, man, and then you end up with like even very well respected shops who don't know what the fuck they're doing. It is mind blowing how many of those there are.
Listen, I'm gonna tell you guys something right now. If I could pee in this bottle and not overfill it, I would stay here and do that.
Go use the bathroom. Keep you off the street right now.
But I am sure I would overflow that.
Steve was
and
just
my garbage can right here is a wicker basket. Otherwise, I would stay.
I just went to get a beer.
But I'm gonna go pee, and I'm gonna see if we have more beer in this house. I'll be right back.
Fuck! I think these antibiotics are working.
No, man, like it's bad. The number of shops that just don't care. Like the best shop in our area is my house.
Wow, that tastes weird.
And we're not even a shop.
Yeah,
like we get hit up every week to do work.
Like I was telling you about Vegas being shitty. I have people all the time messaging me here. Do you have a shop you recommend I could go to? And I'm like, no, I don't have any. Zero, not one. I can't tell you one freaking shop in this 3 million population town that can do work on your car that I can trust.
Bro, look at it. Look at her.
What's in the what's that, like peanuts or something?
Yeah, that's what I wonder. Popcorn or something? He's gonna be crunching in her ear.
No, we have a couple of shops that I'd recommend, but
we have a guy that won Installer of the Year one year, but I don't even know if he's still around.
We have a guy in New Orleans, like an hour and a half from me, who's like top 10 or top 25 every year. I have no idea who he is. I've never seen anything he's done.
Well, and that's part of the problem too, is that it's different because those guys are the ones that are still just installing jail audio because that's all they've ever done for 30 years. You know what I mean? And nothing wrong with jail audio, but they just don't. Some of those guys really have no concept about what I just refer to as big bass builds. They just really don't. They have no idea how to build something that'll do a 160. But in the bass community, you can do like a 160 very easy these days.
Yeah, we did a 160 in my driveway in like 36 hours on a no wall build.
Yeah, but we can't. Yeah, but in our community, what they look at like a super complex door panel that looks stock with the mesh grills and all. There's like, yeah, I can knock that out in a few hours. In our bass community, we're like, oh, I can't do that.
You're like, I can
do 160.
Yeah,
my
exactly.
wife brought me this in case I have to pee again.
And,
is
that why?
That makes sense.
And she brought me a fucking Miller Lite. I don't know the last time I drank one of these, or if I even ever have. I remember my dad being mad about drinking these and not Silver Bullets when I was a little kid. He was like, "What the fuck, Miller Lite?"
You're a little guy, Bobby. So your alcohol level is probably like 1.0, 1.10.
Oh, I'm like 2 beer Bob as a motherfucker, and this is my 5th beer or whatever the fuck it is. So
yeah. I got another question for you, Bob. Are you wearing sandals right now, or are you actually wearing shoes?
No, I'm barefoot, man.
Barefoot. There you go. Never seen Bobby in anything.
I put shoes on. I put shoes on one of the days. I can't remember because it was supposed to rain, and I put shoes on, and I was like, I wore Chucks. I don't fucking know. I was like mad about it. About 2 hours into the day, I was like, it's not even fucking raining, and who would have cares if my feet would have been wet? Blah, blah. It was supposed to fucking snow. Remember on Thursday, it was supposed to fucking snow at SEMA. It was like snow flurries. I'm all what? And then it was like,
dude, I'll be honest, I didn't
drizzle for 18 seconds.
I knew the motorcycle was sitting out. I had that car cover on it. I woke up at like 3:30 in the morning, and the wind was howling. And I was freaking out thinking that the car cover got blown off the motorcycle.
Yeah, it did.
And my freaking $900 a piece Bema 8s in that freaking thing were going to get filled with water. And I was freaking out. So I literally went there before the show opened and got ratchet straps, put up one of my 10x10 Limitless tent over the motorcycle and strapped it to it when it was still almost dark. Because
I got there before you and put the cover back on it while it was raining. I got there before you and put that cover back on. It was still
on, so that makes sense. I swore that it would have been off, and now
it was off. It was wrapped around that fucking 6-wheel fucking truck again.
Was it really?
Yeah, again.
Oh, shit.
No,
again.
That truck needed.
So Paul was the normal SEMA guy that we dealt with. But there was the black dude too that came through every once in a while. Yeah, I can't remember what his name was. I got his name. He was super nice, and I had shown up on Wednesday morning, and the black dude was like, "Hey man, that cover was over there wrapped around that fucking truck's wheels." And I was like, "Oh shit." And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, I'll tell the guys." And then I told you guys, I was like, "Hey man, blah, blah, blah." And and so then on Thursday morning, I went out there to look at a customer's truck, and she was supposed to open it up for me, and she didn't, blah blah blah. And I was like walking around, and I was like walking over towards our stuff. I didn't know why I was, but I was going. It was like dark outside, and I'm like chooching over there, and I looked, and I was like, I don't see a cover on that big ass front wheel of that fucking bike. And I was like, I bet that cover's not on it again. And it had just started to fucking sprinkle. And I was like, what are the fucking odds that one of us would be out here and it started to sprinkle on that motherfucker? And I grabbed that cover and I dragged it over and I wrapped it around the fucking thing and I strapped it on there. And I was like, you and I got it on there pretty good. And I was like, that's pretty good. The wind isn't blowing anymore. And then I walked back over to my customer's truck and she didn't answer me. And so I walked in and I walked through 2 of those halls with nobody else in them. And let me tell you.
Yeah, because I got there like almost the cover was on. So you were there early.
I was there early as fuck. Yeah, I was supposed to go look at my customer's truck at like 6:30 a.m. or whatever the fuck it was. I walked through 2 of those halls with not another fucking person in them. and it was almost spooky, like a fucking horror movie. I'm all clicking around. It's all quiet. I'm all looking, like peeking around corners as I come around and shit. I'm like, it's weird to be in a place that there's normally 10,000 people and there's nobody in it right now. So, but yeah, it was pretty cool.
That's nuts. Well, yeah, then I put the tent over it too because I was stressing, and then it hardly rained Thursday. Like it didn't rain, it was windy, but we didn't get a ton of rain.
But it wasn't even super windy. I have been in far worse weather conditions in Las Vegas. Yeah. I have seen the like random like, hey everybody, it's going to be cold, windy, and kind of raining, and it might even be a snow flurry tomorrow. And then it was, and it's like, and people seem to speed up in their driving, and they're like psychopaths. And
the bike is all in pieces right now, by the way, because one of the amps broke off of the rear fender on the way there. We fixed it with ratchet straps that nobody knew about. Well, by the time we got it home, it was kind of strapped to the other amp. It broke the other amp off the rear fender. So now that's all off, and Troy and his team over in Blake and over them at Audio Concepts are fixing it right now, and they got it in pieces. But yeah, that poor thing, man, it was really tough pulling that thing 2,000 plus miles each direction. Boy, it is tough to transport that thing. The truck was easy. The motorcycle,
you rode it.
Yeah.
That's what he should have done.
I was standing there, and John and I were looking at it, and he was looking at the back, and I saw like a little look of like, fuck, looking at the way the amp had scooted over after a little while, right?
Yep.
You had strapped it up, and it was in line where it went, but it was about 10 millimeters off the fucking skew, and I was like, And I was like, and I nudged him, and I said, hey. And he's like, what's up? And I said, I want to rebuild it from here back. And he was like, oh, fuck. And he's like, there is no way. And I'm like, if there is anyone that should be the right person to do this. And he's like, no, because it's going to cost too much fucking money. And I was like, and he's like, and it'd be so hard to get this. I was like, oh, no. I will emulate everything that is existing. And if I see any component of it that I can for sure make better, that's when I will do it. I'm not going to be all, I'm going to reinvent the fucking wheel. No, fuck you. That thing works real good.
Well, Bobby, I heard from the bike world that another big competitor in the bike world was talking to you about some bags already.
He has been talking to me about some bags, but I think he was a little bit nervous about the kind of budget that him and I were discussing. So we'll see. I mean, I'm in. I was like, I'll build that.
I'm not gonna say his name on here because you guys think the car audio world's bad about dropping secrets. The bike world, oof. So I'm not putting no names out there. But
I don't know what his name is either. He just told me he was a guy that had a fucking bike that he had like $70,000 or $80,000 already into, and he was not happy with what he had, and was hoping that I could do something amazing. And I was like, I'm real confident I can, and I have resources on my side to help me.
If you could build bags just like what's
money.
He said he was prepared to, and he was capable of, and I believed him because he didn't sound like he was full of shit. But sometimes people, even if they got the money, some people are like, God damn, dude.
He's just debating on if he wants to spend it again because he's already spent 6 figures previously.
And see, and that's the issue, bro. Like you end up with guys who are willing to spend the money on it one time or even twice.
Yeah.
And they get burned twice.
Yeah.
Prime example. Like if Price was anyone other than who he is, he would have quit forever ago because of how many times he's been burned on that damn Tahoe.
You are not wrong, dude. It's terrible. I've known JP for 12 years, and I've watched him get burned so many times, man. It's just. Yeah. I'm not saying he got burned this time. I'm not speaking against anybody.
No, I know. But... No, he did. No, he did. I'll say it. He did. He did. I'll say it. He did. But like you see that, or like the guy he's talking about with the motorcycle. Yes, these people have a ton of capital, ton of money, but like man, I don't. What happens again?
I'm through in a sports car, old school restoration. I'm in it right now. I got a '78 Trans Am that I've been working on for 8 years. If you go to my Facebook page, it's my '78 Trans Am restoration. I haven't touched the thing in a year and a half because I'm $65,000 into this car, and there's still so much crap wrong with it. I got a 600 horsepower LS3 in it that doesn't run exactly right, and the paint was supposed to be a $20,000 paint job, and it is not a $10,000 paint job, and so at this point I'm so frustrated. It needs interior, and it needs like little button up stupid crap. It's probably like 15 grand, 20 grand worth of work if somebody was really good, but
if they did it right.
What?
I got you though, Chris. I got a shop here in Sacramento. I've done quite a bit of business with them. They are fucking awesome. They're called Gearhead Garage. Yeah. And I have been doing business and knowing these guys for like 10 fucking years, and they will not let you down. And see, I will fucking put stuff, right? My word on it.
Like it's got a full painless wiring harness kit in it, right? Which is just a full, it's cut. Your painless wiring harness is a full kit you buy per the car to rewire.
I know. Did you say they cut it?
What?
Did you say they cut it?
No. Like it's a full. You don't have to cut nothing.
Oh no!
So it's a whole kit.
Said they cut the painless harness.
No, they did cut the painless harness, but there's stuff that's not right with it. Like it's just not in there right. So before somebody puts interior in it, I need somebody that can. I'll pay somebody $5,000 to like run through the bugs and make sure there's no bugs in the car, that it's right before I spend the money on the interior to make the thing right. And
the issue is like guys at Gearhead will do all of that, and they have an interior guy in house that is fucking good.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to do crazy interior. I want like stock 80% and then like 20% some cool tweaks, right? I'm not trying to make.
So, Bobby, how far out is Gearhead Garage?
Yeah, they're probably.
They have a huge, big, badass shop and several high-end super techs. So I mean, like if you've been sitting on it for a fucking year and a half, 2 years, you're in a reasonable time frame. They're not 5 years out. They're fucking good, but I mean, they're not the most expensive, but you better bring your fucking money. But I know you got it, Chris, so you good.
That's the second part of
and here's the other thing is good, Chris, is if you sent that that car to Gearhead through me, they are like 7 miles from Gately Audio, and you could be like, hey, can you go look at some of this shit for me, and while you build trust with Jay and Mac and the guys there, until you are like solid, and I'll go and take a peek and point fingers and show you pictures and help you deal with that shit. I fucking got you. Like
I just got recently. I got Year One came out with a set of 19-inch replica snowflakes, right? That are the gold inserts. They're the first 19s that Year One ever made. I got one of the first sets that hit the ground from them. So I got those 19-inch replica snowflakes, offset, wider in the back. I mean, like I got so many pieces where the thing is going to be amazing. It's a SE Y88, which is what they call a reverse band. It's a gold car. So the car's gold with black bird. 78 T-top car, 600 horsepower LS3, big brake kits, axles, rear end, custom everything. I mean, I just need somebody to bring it across the finish line, So, but I'm just so gun shy, just like Drew said. I got the money. I have money sitting aside for that car that I don't trust handing my money to somebody and getting a product.
Like I haven't even. So my Duramax may need a new turbo. The turbo's fine. The band that holds the turbo together broke. And if the turbo comes off to replace that band, it's getting a new turbo because it's 250,000 miles. I don't have a shop that I 100% know I trust.
Yeah.
I have some shops that I've never heard anything bad about. I have some shops that look like they're great, but it's like, man, like who do I drop off my truck with that I trust?
Yep.
If you're talking about unbolt a turbo and put a different turbo on it, you should just do that goddamn shit yourself.
I should, but I know what will happen. One stud will break off the up pipe on the back, and I will become so enraged that the money that they would have charged me is worth my rage and not fighting that bolt. But you're right. That is something we have bounced around. What if we just replace the turbo ourselves? But that's beside the point. It's like it sucks not being able to trust so many shops because you see so many people get burned constantly.
Yeah, you're right. It's terrible.
And car audio is way worse than a mechanic shop because mechanic shops, if they do shitty work, they're like, the owner is like, did it drive when it left? Did it have engine lights? Like they're like car audio shops will be like,
I don't know, dude.
Later, they're like, guys get in and they're like, it has no output. And they're like, did you try turning up your gain?
So look, when we tried to tow the cube, when we towed the cube from Iowa to Slam, the trailer got a full makeover, whatever, fix all the brakes. This is what they said they did. They said they did all this stuff. So on the way back, actually, no, this was the Coney Island, New York trip. So on the way back, I think one of the wheels comes off and they basically jackknife this thing on the highway. And come to find out, when we pulled the thing apart, the brakes were like held together with zip ties.
Dude, I remember those pictures. That was scary.
Did Tommy McKinney work on it?
I don't know who the hell did it, but it was a pretty well-known mechanic shop. And so I don't know. I don't know if mechanics are any better.
Yeah, were you in that trip?
Oh, on the way there, on the way back, I flew.
Gotcha. Yeah. I remember how that thing jackknifed, and I mean that truck was heavy, so like that was sketch, like super sketch.
Yeah, it smashed that F450 up pretty good.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. Like, oh man, that looks. That was.
Yeah,
but yeah, stuff like that. It's just, man, it's so hard to trust shops.
I have to say, I went to Heatwave and I sheared my studs because my on my 40-foot trailer in Heatwave, and went to a shop and they said, oh yeah, we can have it fixed in like 3 hours and it'll be, $900 or $1,000 or something. And this was 8 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 in the afternoon. They're just finishing it up instead of 12 o'clock like they said. When I still got an 8-10-hour drive to Atlanta, and he hands me an invoice for $2,400. Oh, I gave you the wrong quote. When I'm sorry, this is what it is if you want to take your trailer. I said, oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, great.
Paid for it, disputed the charge.
And I had that same thing kind of happen when I was like younger, 18, 19. Had a shop get over on me like that. It's just I had no money.
I disputed the charge and told him. And then he called me and I said, I'll send you the $900. I said, or we can go to court and argue the whole thing, or I'll send you the $900 you originally quoted me. What do you want? And he said, "Just take me to court. I never paid anything." But
it's just. But then the shops that like I know would do great work on my truck are a year out before they can even change a turbo on the truck because they're so damn busy.
Yeah, that's how that works. There was a shop owner made a post on Facebook, I think 2 weeks ago, talking about how slow he was and was thinking he was going to close up shop. Yeah, and I was like, how?
If you're slow currently, I mean,
you got to suck. Yeah.
Something's got to suck. You're either a really shitty salesman or you just have shitty work that nobody comes back. I do an audio system for somebody local. Remember, when somebody comes to me for an audio system, and I've talked about this a few times on the show, I tell them pretty early in the conversation, this is an interview for you and if I accept you as my customer. And
you're an arrogant little dude.
I know, right?
No, fuck that. No, I know. There's enough going on. Fuck that. Because
I know I'm the shit. You ain't gotta tell me, bud.
No, because you gotta be a pretty cool motherfucker. I gotta like you. How, Chris, when you meet a person and you can tell they want to be your friend, do you just automatically just fucking act like that's okay? You're my friend automatically? Just no. Because if you're not my fucking friend, I don't want you to be my fucking customer. Because people that aren't that cool with you aren't that fucking cool as customers. Fuck that shit. So I tell them right away, this is an interview for you. They go, hey, I was thinking I really wanted a custom audio system done in my truck. I saw one of your boxes. It was badass. My buddy had it. It was this. And I go, okay. And early on in the conversation, if it gets just a little bit awkward, they're like, what kind of deal can you give me? And I'm like, okay, let me tell you something. This conversation we're having is an interview for you and whether I'm going to accept you as my customer. Our shop rate is this. This is what we charge. I don't discount shit unless you're a veteran, military, first responder.
That's good stuff.
And that's it. If you aren't one of those, you don't get any kind of discount. I don't care how many friends you have. If you're taking your truck to fucking SEMA or any of that shit.
I don't care. I get that. It's a $100 design. What do you mean you need you take your SEMA budget and send me $100? Stop.
Right. Any of that shit. And they
you've gone up.
They were like, okay, cool. Then
I've gone way up.
I sent Drew $60 3 years ago, and then still never had to design the box for me because I changed.
I paid Drew. Drew, how much did I pay you to design boxes for all my Alpha 6.5s and 8s, and you still didn't do it?
Not enough. You got to send more. No, Chris has never sent measurements.
There was an interview, and he decided your shit wasn't worth it.
All you need to do is tell me what size sealed and ported boxes for the Alphas and what size.
It's a good idea to change the sub 17 times since then. Jesus,
I have not changed those subs one one bit.
I was waiting. I messaged Chris like twice, like, "Hey, you ever get measurements?"
No, you did. It's totally on me. I'll make that clear. Yeah. Like,
hey, worry about that. No, and I had to tell him, "Hey, don't have me design shit. Go buy the JL in-wall subwoofer because that is the most impressive thing I've ever fucking heard."
Yeah. I just was trying to be different. What I wanted to do was I wanted to put, and I had even talked to Jacob at Sundown about it. I was like, hey, look, I want like a super house type subwoofer enclosure that I'm going to put under my crawl space of my house. And I want it to port through the kick of my bar in my living room, right? And I want my sub enclosure to be in the floor for my surround sound. And I want to put like 2 12s in my crawl space, port it into my floor. And Jacob was like, cool, I'll do it. I can make you some really cool subs like he had on those little triangle subs he's got. He said he can make you some cool ones. So I was like, great. That sounds like a great idea. I did it while I was building my house in 2020. So that's quite a good idea. And then I got covered up building my house and didn't make provisions to put the boxes in. Paid him for a design, never sent him any measurements. And there we went. So.
No, and then once I heard the JL in-wall, because they have an 8-inch and a 13-inch version.
Yeah.
I was at JL. And they turned this on, and I thought it was a legitimate like W713, just a room over. I was like, "Damn, that is banging. What is that?" And I look over; it is the 8-inch version, just hanging free air in the room, playing. I'm like, "Holy shit!" I was like, "All right, what's it cost? What's it cost?" Because it's JL. They're like, "Well, it's cheaper if you buy 2." I'm like, "Okay, well that makes sense." All right, no, because if you buy 1, it's $3,400. If you buy 2, it's $4,800. I'm like, okay, but it comes with a JL home amp. I was like,
oh, so you get the amplifier.
Well, that's actually much more affordable than I thought you were. I thought you were gonna hit me with a 5-digit number.
Yeah,
and it was.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Once I heard that,
I need to start making fucking home audio shit, man.
Bro,
you are not wrong.
Dude.
Home
audio is.
Big
yeah. Like I'm not gonna say who
I'm
it
out
is,
of here and I'm going to do this shit. I gotta go.
We got a SoundQubed dealer down in central Georgia that I went down and saw his shop, and he has 2 shops, one in Macon, one in Warner Robins, and he does a lot of churches and home audio stuff. And like he's got a showroom in there, and he's got like everyone puts little twinkle headliners in, right? And guys are doing them headliners for $1,500 or something, right? And he does those twinkle type ceilings in theaters and houses. And I said, well, how much does that theater ceiling start? He said, well, in a small theater, like a 10 by 10, 10 by 12, he said that ceiling's like $18,000. It's no different than what people are putting in cars. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
And they're putting them in cars.
That shit.
Same thing.
That shit looks super complicated. I mean, it's a lot.
Like you're like, all right, I take this tile panel and I put I can put constellation.
It's 2 by 2 drop ceiling panels with constellation in it. That's it. LEDs in the roof. And that's like a small room.
Drill those holes with my CNC machine. I just got to push a button and it does everything I want it to do. It just takes that information right out of my brain.
And home audio, that's where the money's at.
Man, the roofs I've seen is way more complicated than that. Maybe I haven't seen the right stuff.
Like there's someone I know who OEM subs in car audio. He also does some stuff for a very high end home company. Very high end. The same sub they sell like for the car side. This other company buys from him and resells for $10,000.
Yeah,
it is a $900 sub in the car audio world. It is the same sub with a different cone, $10,000.
That's crazy.
And they sell the shit out of them.
Yeah, that's nuts.
I bet he sells that exact same tub to another company and just laser etches a different fucking logo on the front of it and fucking sells it for even cheaper to them too.
Well, I mean, you guys all have heard of Phi. Phi's or Scott, I should just say, he has another home audio company. I don't remember the exact name of it, but that's their bread and butter. I mean, Fi is like where all of his stuff, crazy shit in his head that he wants to build comes out of. But what pays the bills is this home audio company that basically like 18-inch sub cabinets. Just tons of them.
That's where DD started too. DD started in the 80s doing home audio.
Yeah. The dude at DD, man, when DD started making car audio subwoofers, that shit changed everything. The 9500 series, which was the biggest, craziest thing they made at that time in the early 2000s, absolutely dominated everything else. There was nothing that fucking compared, and I tested.
It wasn't even close either.
Not even fucking close.
Like, the first truly loud vehicle I ever heard was DD. It was Brett Arsenault, 4 DD 95 F15s on the original M3 silver cases, Kinetic 2400s. That was the first 60 I ever heard, and that thing would just, I got like chills, but I think it would like rip your face off.
Yeah, first loud build I ever heard too, DD.
My first loud build
2001
ground pound. We had ground pound doing almost a 60. We got a 58.8 and it was 6 DD 9515. And that was in 2015 before we met DS18 and switched in 16. But in our first ground pound's first real loud build was DD. I mean, that's what
how many dBs did you lose switching to DS18?
Actually, I gained 1.6 dBs. My first 60 was because of DS18 and the same enclosure.
Okay.
So
you added a little power. I'm guessing.
What?
I'm guessing you added quite a bit of power.
No, actually, what'd I do? Yeah, I did. I went from three 5Ks to 3 8Ks. So
okay, that's not that much power.
Yeah, not that much.
So this was it. 4 95 15s. That's old Brett right there in the old Team South shirt. In the F-160, everything he put in that truck did a 60. This was 14, 13 years ago. This thing was just this. He was so loud in his class that people just stopped competing in his class at USAC. So he would just be alone in classes and competitions for years. It was insane. And that was the guy who like
last one.
That was the guy who like taught me how to get loud. It was
he's Drew, is Team South still a thing?
Yes.
Are you part of it still or no?
Nope.
Okay.
No, I left Team South 16, 17, I guess.
Gotcha.
There was leadership at the time that was hyper toxic, and I just wasn't dealing with it anymore.
Gotcha. You guys probably don't remember, but Drew used to. He liked to talk. He liked to talk a lot of crap, and
who, Brett?
I said, well, yeah, he would too, but I said, Brett, but I was talking about you too. Me and Drew, and he could argue with Team South, and boy, we called us in Atlanta, we called Team South Team Mouth. Boy, you guys, Team Mouth, boy, were driving me nuts back in the day.
Oh man, I'm so glad that I'm not. I mean, I was a kid. That's just. I mean,
yeah.
Man, I'm 30 now, so I had to be 20, 21.
Yeah.
You couldn't tell me I wasn't the shit. I was. That's just all it was. That's all there was to it, bud.
Yep.
Turns out I was
Mansfield battling there one year, and then everybody got mad and taped a tampon to Pablo's hood.
Oh God, I remember
I was
that.
one of my team members that did that. Yeah, it was that was some fun time. Me and Pablo and Bobby have hung out since then and laughed about it. But yeah, that was all over me and Bobby arguing over stuff. That was hilarious.
Yeah, it's all so silly now that we look back at it.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was nuts, man. But
did you do quite a bit of competing back in the day?
Not really, a little bit here and there. I just stuff like that is why I don't like competing. You know, now as a business owner in the audio world, I don't compete really because I don't really want to compete against my customers, right? So if it's important to somebody else to go get a trophy and they came and they spent $1,000 with me to buy a battery to get that trophy, I don't want to go take their trophy. You know what I mean? So I don't compete mainly because of that, but I don't like the drama that comes with it. You know what I mean? I did one year I was going to go after Mecca's dueling demos thing in ground pound. And I went and won some shows and And then had one of my coolest experiences is a show in Tennessee. We ended up sponsoring her, and she's still on Team Limitless. She's one of the young girl who did Mecca Kids with her little Barbie Jeep, right? And she had her in dueling demos, and me and a couple of the really big audio builds battled, and I beat everybody that day at that show with some really, really big audio builds. Big Blue was there, and I beat him, and then she won her class with her little truck, and she was 6 years old. She got her little Barbie Jeep, and she drove like she was going to ram ground pound, and she drove nose to nose with me in ground pound. Pulled up, put her headphones on, got out of it, turned on her Barbie Jeep to battle ground pound for the championship. And it was freaking awesome. And she turned hers up, and then I got up and I turned ground pound on, and I turned it on real low, and then I made it static. And like I wanted her to like really think that she like she beat me.
Oh, for sure.
We dapped it up, and she's like 12 now, and but it was like a cool little memory for her because she was out with her little Barbie Jeep. But that's like the only good memory I have of competing. Besides that, it just gets drama, man. People get butthurt, and it's just, man, it's just not worth it. That's
definitely something I'm not looking forward to this year next year because we're going after championships in a couple organizations next year, and just I know there's going to be the bullshits, but we're going to have to just avoid it. Like there's no choice because of the name we're going to be under.
Because you're preparing yourselves and you have to stay positive and you're programming your mind to not be surprised when some sour loser accuses you of like cheating. Yep. And you're going to be not cheating, but you're going to have an advantage because tuning vehicles and building loud vehicles is your fucking job. Yeah. So you better fucking win, you fucking loser, or it looks like you're a lame. So it's one or the other. You're gonna win, and some sour ass motherfuckers gonna be like, well, if my whole job and my existence wrapped around speakers, then
get good, bro. I don't know.
Then I fucking could easily be a champion too, and
maybe next year.
That's what it's like,
Yeah. That's what happens.
Speaking of championships, Drew, I don't know if I should bring this. I guess I could bring it up. It's not that big a deal. Well, maybe it's a big deal, but that article you sent us about Rich from Sparked Elon Musk.
Yeah,
it's kind of off topic, but I think it's kind of interesting. Yeah, exactly.
So Rich, one of the co-owners of Spark Innovations in 2018 filed lawsuit against Elon Musk on behalf of a group of investors in Tesla
for $56 billion.
And it passed one motion to dismiss, and it's still ongoing.
Yeah, so those of you who know,
lawsuit against Elon Musk for $56 billion with a B.
Yeah, Rich from Spark Innovations.
Yeah, he filed on behalf of a group of investors because of some pay thing Elon did. I didn't read that deep into it. I found the article. Someone sent it to me. They're like, "Look at this." I was like, "Oh wow, that's crazy." Let me send that to the group, to this chat real quick.
Yeah, here it is. This is what it's about right here, I guess.
His pay package or something. Yeah, it was crazy. I was like, what is going on? Like, that can't be the same Rich. But then it says in the article that he owns a company, In-Car Audio, selling custom things. It's like, well, I mean, I'm the only one.
It's definitely him. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I guess he's done this before, though.
Yeah, it's what I read. It's like he sued Sirius XM or something over a merger.
Yeah,
on behalf of I don't know. It's crazy.
I don't know. Maybe there's just some sort of loophole out there we don't know about, that when a company does something, you could sue them. Maybe make money.
I mean, I saw a funny thing, like a little dick and big balls on the side of that screen. Did you guys see that?
Yeah, it's the sponsor of that page. Here, I'll show it for you one more time. Here you go, Bobby. Just one more for you.
What was it?
There it is.
Oh, there it is. I saw it for a second. If you scroll down, it'll pop up again.
Let's see. No. Oh,
hey, you know what? You know what I bet it is? I bet they're playing to that crowd. I bet they're playing to those guys that are like, Hey, that looks like my cock and balls. I got a really little dick. It's hard.
How'd you get a picture of me like that? That's rude.
Big ass balls. Like it's like, or it's just really, really little dick and normal size balls.
So this is the Brett Arsenault. This is the guy who had the DD build. He now has a Sundown build, C-pillar and a Suburban that'll play music over a 60.
Yeah,
it just shows how far like how loud things are now. Because he I don't think he ever did a 60 on music in the F-150 just because of battery limitations. And now he can do it in a C-pillar in a Suburban.
And now Chris fixed that for all of us.
Well, yes, even like you think the motorcycle world, right? But lithium really did change the audio game. You know what I mean? Oh. And you know, hey, we had a little part in that. That was awesome. But it changed the audio game in cars, but it changed it even more in the motorcycle world. You guys, if you've not been to any of these big motorcycle events, they're still not really on the West Coast yet. You got to go to like Daytona, Carolinas, Panama City. Those bike events are the craziest thing you've ever seen in your life. I mean, the stuff that they're doing on these motorcycles. I mean, our Limitless bike is an extreme version of it. So you guys, for you guys that saw that, I mean, obviously that's what you're going to see. And it's probably one of the better ones in that world. But the bikes are so bad, man, and they can do so much now because they got lithium that you couldn't do before. You know,
that's one thing I wanted to talk to you about, not necessarily on the show, but we spoke about it just briefly through text about adding the bagger world to the showdown, because I do want to grow the show, but I don't want to just add another car show to it, like kind of the rest of the bigger car audio shows do. So if I could just keep growing this to just be a mobile audio show and do baggers and then maybe side by sides and then maybe both, like to make it just be like a mecha show of all things mobile audio is the goal. And I think, you know, after talking to you about it, like baggers seems like the most logical way for me to go next, and you know, tie that to the show and bring it to the West Coast. So like you just said, we don't really have crap over here. So
so you know, and I'll say a little bit of it here because maybe some bike guys might see this post. But my thought with the bike thing, right, is that if we can somehow include SEMA Ignited into that, right? I mean, it's not SEMA, excuse me, the audio experience, right? I know that they do a bunch of stuff, and I'm going way out on a limb here, but I'm gonna throw it out there because it could get some traction. You know, there's like builder awards at SEMA and build offs and stuff like that, right?
Right.
If we get 3 or 4 or 5 of the loudest motorcycle builds and do a mini bike audio competition and let one of these guys win at the audio experience on a bike, like they compete on a large scale, I'm sure that some of these bikes that are around the country would want to come and be highlighted on the stage at SEMA. And we actually did a bike competition. We can't do a car audio competition at SEMA, right? But we can do a bike audio competition. And if it became part of SEMA Ignited, I mean, I keep saying SEMA Ignited. So if it became part of the audio experience, round 1 was Tuesday, round 2 was Wednesday, round 3 was Thursday, and they finaled on Friday with who wins. That could be a serious thing if we did it every day at 2:00. You know, and you're not talking 20 bikes. I'm talking, I think that they should. It can run through some of your orgs. It's going to happen. There's 4 big audio orgs in the bike world.
Really?
You know, if we could run it through 1 or 2 of those orgs and they send their champs or something, you know, and they come battle it out, and the championship for all of this, for all the marbles, is a 4-day competition at the audio experience. We're going to get the bike community out there, and that's also
if there's 4 orgs. If there's 4 orgs and each org sent their heavyweight champ or whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And then so that'd be 4 bikes over 4 days. You could do like a double elimination thing. Each person basically gets 1 loss, and then I could definitely do that to where it ends up Friday would be a final versus the top 2. Yeah, I like that, and it would, and then I could also pair that into having maybe these 4 orgs come set up shop at the showdown and throw like a real big bike audio thing along event. With I mean that's 6 car audio orgs with 4 motorcycle orgs. I mean it'd be massive. So I don't know, that's definitely something to think about.
The bike orgs are, man, it's so much fun to watch these bikes run, and it's runs like boxes, featherweight, middleweight, heavyweight. It's nuts.
I talk to Kevin Holder from Tesla pretty often. like a couple times a week, we'll talk on the phone, just
chit
chat, whatever. And he tells me it's huge.
He runs Limitless too.
He tells me it's massive.
Well, then we'll definitely talk more about that.
You would think that Northern California, being like the population is fucking massive, that we would have something. We got fucking nothing.
Yeah. Down here,
we don't either here.
Well, apparently there's somebody from Baton Rouge with an absolute unit of a bike.
I know you're talking about.
I have a shop that
he is
like a colleague of mine, this guy named Chris Chandler, that he specializes in working on bikes, but they're all like, you know, small to medium scale, you know, riders that guys are doing that. I mean, like Rusty's, you know, the DC bike that Justin was riding, that thing is fucking badass because you could ride that motherfucker anywhere you want to go, and it sounds fucking good.
And that's an 8-speaker setup out here on the West Coast. I mean, that's like a lightweight. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You mean on the East Coast?
I mean on the East Coast. Yeah.
You are definitely not on the West Coast.
Yeah, he's either a lightweight or he might fall into a middleweight class. But there's stuff that's substantially, and his bike's awesome. I'm not saying it's not. In his class, he would compete with everybody on the East Coast. It's a bad build, but there's stuff that is just so mumuch bigger and crazier and awesome. Like and all the bikes are riders until you get to ours. The Limitless bike is an extreme bike. You know, 38 speakers. It's just it's all the sauce.
And a 612. It's one thing to be like, it's got 38 speakers. To be like, my 6 of those motherfuckers are 12-inch subwoofers
with 2 8Ks on those subs. Yeah, it's a freaking beast. Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
But if you do bringing the org stuff, I think it would help bring the motorcycle enthusiasts to the West Coast. If we could get some of the guys from the East Coast out to the West Coast as part of that whole SEMA thing and get them to your show, I think we could help spark some of the West Coast stuff, because I know the guys would make a ride. And a lot of the shops that do this stuff, we got like Area 51 Customs in Alabama is a great builder, Troy with Audio Concepts here in Georgia, and DK Electronics that built our bike originally. And I mean, there's a million other shops. There's guys in Miami that are awesome. There's a bunch of guys, and a lot of those guys are car audio guys that moved over to the bike world. And some of the guys on the West Coast that are good car audio guys realize what they can do in the bike world, and that 4 motorcycles can take that single bay that one car filled, that you were doing $3,000 worth of work in a car, that now you can do $8,000 worth of work times 4 in the same bay. They realize that the bike world is super lucrative and super cool, man. Like, it's so much fun. Because if a guy buys a Harley for $40,000 and he pays $10,000 in paint and 30-inch wheel and all the money he spent, if he's got $100,000 in his motorcycle, he's okay spending $10,000 on a 6-speaker setup. You know,
he's also okay with being away from his bike for fucking a month or 6 weeks while you build this $10,000, $15,000, $25,000 audio system on it.
Yeah.
And if it's still really rideable for realsies, and he could take it to a competition, and in car audio competition, even the fun classes still aren't fun for spectators.
Correct. And in bike classes,
motorcycle shit is fun for spectators.
It's a crowd. Every bike, even like the Harley show here in Atlanta, which is 20 minutes from me, that they do a couple times a year, the audio bike show, there's 500 spectators like watching and waiting for the bikes to run, because they're and they do it, you know, featherweight all the way down to extreme bikes. So everyone's waiting for the
How many spectators do you think you had at the showdown? How many spectators do you think you had at the showdown?
Probably on Saturday there was probably 500-ish plus
spectators.
But most of those guys rode with their buddy. You know what I mean? Like, they rode with their buddy in the passenger seat. Like,
I'm talking about just total people. I mean, everybody's a freaking spectator. Like, what do you mean?
People like the motorcycle shows, they don't have anybody there. Like, they go to the show just to hear and see the builds.
It's honestly hard for me to tell because I don't charge for spectators, and I didn't really have a whole lot of time to walk around and look. So
like
you'd know more than me.
15, 30 people that were just like, oh, I came to check it out.
Yeah.
There's way more than that.
It was more than that, but it's not like what happens in some of these bike shows. I mean, like,
I don't know, man. It's crazy how few people show up to even large scale shows. I bet Slamology, it's it's 20-1 people with vehicles in the show versus people that are there.
Well, I'll tell you. Okay, look, there was 120 vehicles, not counting the sponsor, the vendor cars.
Right.
And then just on Facebook, it said there was like 420 something went, and that's just Facebook tracking. And then plus whoever else is not on Facebook. So at least 300 people that didn't bring a car.
300 people showed up at least for a little while.
Yeah,
that's outstanding.
They didn't bring a car.
Yeah, your show actually for a West Coast show was a lot. I mean,
and you know what? In the Vegas area, you could really get like Rhonda made a post about people with bikes in Arizona. Vegas would be an easy go-to. I think the Showdown could be the beginning of motorcycles competing on the West Coast.
No, I totally think it could too, and I'm gonna need Chris's help and his experience with that side of it. I don't know anything about the bagger world besides that when I see these baggers, I freaking love them. But yeah, Chris is in the competition scene, kind of knows the people that are the movers and shakers, maybe the people I need to talk to and see if I could get some involvement, from them also. I don't want to be greedy.
Three of the orgs, we major sponsor them, and I know the fourth one we just haven't got together on it yet. So I know all four of the organization's owners, and we can and they all get along too, which is cool. Like there's not
right, they get it,
but her
together. What the fuck, right?
Yeah. Well, what I meant by being not greedy is that like I would. If these guys can bring the crowd. I'm not gonna try to make let's say a bike guy's like, I'm gonna come set up this orb. I'm gonna bring 300 bikes and all these people. Like, come out and do it. Make your money, dude. Like, I don't necessarily need to be the only one that benefits. So let's have this be good for everybody. Just like with my orgs. Like, I know a lot of shows don't do what I do. Like, I pay for the trophies. And I try to pay for the sanctioning if I can get enough sponsor money, and then I let the orgs, whatever they make is theirs. They don't pay me anything. I don't take a dime out of the competition.
That's definitely not how other big shows do it.
No,
it's not. No, most shows will pay him some sort of flat fee.
Showdown, Steve?
What's that?
Do you make pretty good money?
I mean, I make okay money, but it's not. It's not like
you're
it's
not
just
doing it 100% to make money, but you should still make sure you make money.
I make money, some money, but it's side money. I do it more for the networking and for just building everything that I've built, I guess. No, I'm not going to say I don't make any money, but I don't make 5 figures. I don't want people thinking I make $10,000, $20,000 or $30,000 from the show. There was a rumor going around that I made $87,000 last year at the taco show. And I'm like, who the fuck comes up with numbers like this? There was 130 cars. How can I possibly make $87,000? I'm charging the car $800 to get in. Like,
we each paid.
Yeah, I don't know. So I make money, but that's not necessarily
the money I gave Steve the last 2 years for the shows. I gave him a speaker box with a subwoofer in it.
Yeah,
for each of the shows.
He sold it for $40,000.
Last year it was 2 subwoofers. This year it was only 1.
Yeah, but I helped put on the Shut It Down Boys show that we put on in Atlanta, the call out show for 2 years in a row, and our second year we had 1,400 and something spectators, and like 400 cars enter because it was a show and audio, and like 190 audio entries, and we still didn't make hardly any money. I mean, like, by the time we paid for the venue and everything else,
you were still lucky if you were in the fucking green. You're like,
it costs a lot of money.
Made like $8,000
working 8 hours as one of the fucking air conditioning techs installing a fucking air conditioner, right?
The amount of time that I had invested in soliciting and begging car audio brands to sponsor us was, I mean, I made $4 an hour, and we didn't even make it. We put it back in our club fund just to do stuff for our club. So it wasn't. It was us just helping our car club,
100%. That's like where I'm at.
Shows have to be absolutely massive to make money, like scraping.
And they don't make any money. It's all a love thing.
And even scraping, man. Scraping, I'm sure I guess scraping makes money, but that venue's not cheap. Like, scraping's venue cannot be cheap.
Yeah, Greg, before his passing, he insinuated how much he made every year on it. It was enough. It was worth it.
Yeah,
but he deserved
a big
it,
show
man.
like
That
that.
worked his ass off on that show.
It's a lot of work and it costs a lot of money, even for my little show. Just everything costs money.
Well, like Slamology, man. Slamology, he works that all year. I mean, Donnie works Slamology all year. I mean, that's a year-long commitment for him.
Like scraping was Greg's like
that's the third time we have brought up Slamology on this fucking show right now.
Yeah.
That says a lot about how much work Donnie and his wife put into Slamology. I mean,
they were at SEMA.
They were at SEMA, and you know what they were talking about?
Slam. Yeah, they promote the crap out of that. I mean, that show's so big. He's got full-time employees that work on the show year round. I mean, I basically just do it myself year round, and like Chris said, it's half the year soliciting. Do you guys want to be a sponsor? And then it's always yes, and then it's this for second, third, fourth, fifth, 10th message. I'm like, I know you fucking hate me by now, but you said you wanted to be a sponsor, and
I did. I did that to you.
Everybody does. Drew. Drew hasn't even paid for his spot. He just got a free spot.
If it wasn't for Steve messaging me like 8 days before, I was like, oh my God, I forgot about that. Yeah. And I was like,
I just forgot. I just ain't no way around that.
I forgot like 4 times. And I went and fucking went into the production area, and I was like, what are you building right now? And he was like, I'm about to build a Camaro perfect fit. And I was like, fucking sweet. Build that motherfucker up and let's get that. We're gonna use that. And then I was like, what 12-inch subwoofers do we have here that are available? And I was like, oh, cool. I got a B2 Riot. That's a fucking badass sub, and it'll work super good in that box. Fuck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Boop, put that bitch in there, stretch wrap that sucker, and that was the fucking donation.
I could definitely use a full-time employee at this point. It's good.
How far out are you, Drew?
Yes.
I'll send you an invoice for your sponsor spot too.
Dude, it's just
pay that shit right now, Drew.
I should send a request right now.
It's so much going on, and then like I've turned down projects. And
are you still just mainly doing box design? Is that like all the majority? Are you don't really do builds much, do you?
No, we don't know. We're not building stuff.
No,
I'm not doing.
I didn't think so.
No.
How did that fucking Tacoma turn out?
Good. Every now and then we'll take on a local project for a friend, friends specifically, and then every now and then a local person will get in my DM at the right time with the right attitude, and I'm like, all right, well, you should run this equipment. How much you'll spend? They'll tell me this much. All right, buy this, and then I'm gonna reply 5 minutes later. Okay, I bought all of that. Can y'all put it in? Tell you what, you're willing to listen? Yes. Yep, we'll do it.
Yeah.
We've done like 3.
Or you got your buddies bringing their 918 Tahoes over, so you can tune them too.
So I can fix it. Yeah. Every now and then.
Hey, somebody, you know what? He just reminded me. Somebody asked earlier, why the fuck didn't JP have you design that shit in the first place?
The shop that built it, I guess, they designed it too, since they were known for building loud stuff. But loud.
Had they previously designed anything that resembled that at all?
I don't know. I will say that I have not followed their work at all. I don't period. I've only ever seen their work at shows.
Is it a shop? A shop?
Yeah, it's a shop. And since then, I've had multiple people message me saying they've had work done at this shop and asking me to go over what they've done. I'm like, you're
that's
10 hours away from me.
That's a fun specialty. You're the guy that fixes the shit that this shop fucks up. Ooh.
I'm like, you're 10 hours away from me. This dude was like, yeah, I know. It's okay. I'll bring it to you. I'm like, sorry, man. Bring it to this shop that is closer to you.
Yeah. Because there's other people, especially in the Southeast. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, there's a ton of great shops down here.
Yeah.
But mainly there's still a lot of designing. I pulled it back this year a little bit, but consultation with Kicker has paid well. Just projects like that have done really well.
Because you helped design some of their boxes in general?
The Bronco.
Oh, you designed the Bronco. Gotcha. Okay.
The Bronco, and then I consulted on it. If you see anything that looks like a base head had the idea.
Yeah.
This base head had the idea.
Who built it?
Kicker did.
Oh, they built it themselves. Okay.
Yeah, Kicker
they have a nice in-house built team.
Astounding.
Yeah, I saw it, and it's beautiful.
they're great, but they recognized and they were willing to bring someone in. They recognized that they didn't have anyone on staff who built something like that.
Yeah. Not to today's current loud. Like
exactly.
Today's loud is different than what their loud was.
Exactly. And because they have competition group guys who are, who are working on Alma's Bronco and this and that, they're still there, but they recognized we haven't done anything like this in 15 years.
Yeah.
Let's bring somebody in.
You got to wonder what goes through some of those guys' heads, like laying in bed at night thinking, this ain't going to work. Like, I mean, you wonder if you had to be like, man,
how many of the engineers?
I put this design into the software, and according to the software, it says that it's gonna be like negative efficiency. Which apparently, if we run more than 1 watt, it's not gonna work. And
guarantee some engineer somewhere said it, but the fact that they still built it and they still did it. I was like, well, man, that's a lot of trust because they finished it out. I mean, they did everything.
Was that? I didn't look in the sub enclosure real closely. Was it the new subs or was it just L7s?
Nope, it's 4
L7Xs.
Okay, it is.
9 of them. 912s.
912s on the fourth order.
Yeah. So I put this comment up and I didn't get to answer it because we were talking, but we got invited back. I just want everybody to know. So they basically the next day.
Spot. If you could ask them to actually staff that shit.
Trust me, dude. I've got
for the fucking event.
I know.
A lot of people that were really bummed out about that whole situation. We worked it out because we juggled some. We knew that we had to go that way to go eat at the steakhouse and do all kinds of shit, and so we worked it out. But we even talked about it when we were sitting at dinner with Bill and John about how fucked so many of the people that were attending the event would be, especially if they didn't arrive relatively early on Saturday, that they would be all fucked up.
It was real weird the way that I luckily must have came at the right times because when I came Friday night at 11 p.m. there was somebody at the front desk. I got my keys. I checked in. I went Whiskey Pete's. Yeah, I got my keys. I went straight to my room, and I never had any issues except for the one time we tried to go eat, and there was 2 tables seated at the restaurant. They said it was a 40-minute wait. Because just nobody fucking working.
But one person cooking and serving.
Yeah, pretty much
doing their best, man.
But at least they were honest, right? You know what I mean? You're like, fuck.
Yeah, that's our major gripe. Was
way, right? Isn't there another casino right next to it?
Yeah, that's Prim Valley, where they tried to direct most of our people to stay there for some reason. You almost have to jump through hoops to actually get a room at Whiskey Pete's, but a lot of that is COVID, still lingering COVID effects of that area. But there's actually 3 hotels, and the biggest and kind of nicest one is Buffalo Bill's, which was completely closed. The one that has a roller coaster. I don't know if you noticed that roller coaster that was across the street.
Still from COVID?
They completely closed it, but in this time they've been renovating it. So they're supposed to reopen it, and it'll be the nicest of the 3. So I'm going to try to have that be our host. They have a humongous lot, so it would be just as good for sound and all that, but a little nicer hotel and fully staffed because it should be fully open. That's part of the reason why Whiskey Pete's was understaffed. It's not open during the week. It's only open on the weekends, and there's no table games.
This next year, I intend as a sponsor to not only attend and bring vehicles to demo. I intend to have a booth and have product on display and have several whatever vehicles we all bring to SEMA, they will all be on display at the event. I intend to have the Green Monster, possibly the Raiden. The Raiden is going to have some massive. This is I guess I can talk about it right now. The Raiden is getting a full any level lift, 30 wheels,
dude.
Headlights, custom tailgate. He's going all the way. He's having John Raby do everything. Jim is the fucking man. I have a whole bunch of amazing customers, and Jim is right there all the way. Amazing customer in every way possible. And he's extremely financially capable. He's super duper fucking smart. He has numerous great ideas, and his financial ability is outstanding. So he's like, John's like, hey, your headlights and your taillights, and we can fucking do them all the way like this. And Jim is like, within seconds, like, I'm like,
yes,
I wasn't done reading the message, and Jim is like, do it. Like, check now. And I'm like,
and
you're the fucking man. Like, look, see that look on my face? That is the look on my face when I look at Jim and he's like, yeah, spill that shit. And I'm like, oh,
is that Jim?
Shit, bro.
That's Jim, yeah.
Hey, when you call the number that's on the side of the fucking ring, you know what? I'm afraid to say this. Like, you call that number, it's Jim in the middle of the night. And if your fucking air conditioner or your plumbing or whatever the shit that he's is taken care of, he will most likely show up, because he's like, oh, these people are screwed in the middle of the night, and I trust my technicians, and I got a bunch of really good guys, but I want to make sure these people are taken care of, because they're paying a shitload of money.
That's how you end up financially able to do what you want to do.
Dude, he works hard, and he is super duper fucking. He has brilliant ideas on what we should do to the truck all the fucking time. And he's like, what do you think of this? And I'm like, I think that's a great fucking idea. I'm like, hell yes. Jim's a
heating and air guy like me. That's what he does.
He's an heating and air guy like you.
He's an HVAC guy.
You should be more like him. And
I really should.
Send me a truck and a shitload of money. We built that motherfucker.
The black Amex in the console and be like, hey, just let me know.
Yeah, just fucking send it. No, I mean, he's pretty particular. He wants to know what the fuck I'm doing and why. And I have to make sure I very clearly explain the reasoning behind every expense he has on that build. And there's been plenty of things. There's been plenty of things like when Chris, I don't know if you know this, but when I showed up on Friday to the barbecue and I was hyper excited about the fucking build and I had you hop in, I damaged one of those subwoofers giving you a demo.
Really?
I was like, yeah, this is fucking badass. And I'm saying, oh, we can smell a little bit of subwoofers. I fucking hurt one of those things real bad that day. I was like, oh, I fucking broke it.
So did you change it or you played all weekend?
I played it all weekend.
Yeah, we ended up tearing up. Big Bobby ended up tearing up way more. I didn't break anything.
Well, no, we were about midday Sunday, and Drew was like, dude, you're damaged another sub. And I had broken 2 at that point. And I was like, well, if we have to recone 12 subs, we might as well need to recone 12 subs.
And I was like, well, I didn't know that. Okay.
Not wrong.
No, exactly.
We sure did. And my buddy Eric Combs worked his fucking ass off and reconed 12 subwoofers with the spacered spider. We added an extra spider and we put the sundown surrounds on. And that's what those
if you have to recone all 12,
I mean, that sounds really, really simple, but there was a lot of like which spider. And let's test one of them and make sure that this parameters are going to be right for this box. And
hey, Chris, y'all still made the gorillas, right?
I still what?
Y'all still made the gorillas, right?
We do. So here's the deal with the gorillas. So the gorillas are still in production, right? But we took them out of production for a period of time because it took us so much. We were growing and still are growing so fast that the amount of time we had to invest teaching people how to do high voltage, right? 15.5, right? We had guys ordering them off our website. We had to stop people from ordering them without talking to us because we had a guy order a
That's
G10,
why I don't do website sales for designs.
Yeah, so a 10 amp hour battery, and the guy calls us and say, hey, look, I just bought this G10. I threw it under my hood. It's not under hood safe. And on my stock alternator, and it died, right? It's like, well, okay, that battery needs to be charged 15 plus volts. It can't go under your hood. It can't run your whole car. Like he did every possible thing wrong. And we ran into that like every day. So we stopped, we couldn't tie up our resources in our office troubleshooting for guys who just have no business doing high voltage. So I got so frustrated. I was like, you know what? Don't even freaking do them anymore. Don't build them anymore. Forget it. Right. And that's right when Scotty was launching his his Titans, which uses the same cells. So I was like, you know what? If somebody wants to buy a freaking skib pre-built battery, they can go buy an excess power battery. I don't care anymore. I was frustrated. But then John with Sky High is like, well, man, look, he said, I've sold a bunch of gorillas over the years. He said, we will take the time to help people troubleshoot, right? Let me bring the gorillas back. So we said, great. And we brought the gorillas back, and Sky High is the exclusive distributor for the gorillas. He can sell them to dealers, but he is vetting to make sure that people know what they're doing. He's not good. You can go and order it on his website, but you're going to have a conversation with him as to how that, not him, obviously, but somebody within Sky High is going to take the time. And he has the bandwidth. I mean, John's got, I don't know, 20 people or something. So he's got the bandwidth to help.
I think he only really has like 11.
Yeah, exactly. Gotcha. But he's still got the bandwidth to do it, right? And when one person who used to work for Sky High now works for SoundQubed, so he lost another one. So
yeah.
Tony does. But anyway,
I was just asking. We're exploring.
Tony is like fucking 3 dudes.
Yeah, Tony's like
3 people. Wondering,
rockstar.
Like, Tony is a fucking rock star. He's a fucking beast. He works his ass off. I fucking love that dude.
Yeah, he's our GM, man, and he's going to really help us really grow the brand.
Now we're building the Nitro with Kicker to do some things, and we're exploring power options still. So I didn't know if I want to run at the very limit of the voltage of the amplifiers.
And that's like upper 15s or something?
Yeah, 15.4, 15.5 is like the limit of the amps.
So either we talk about some production gorillas, or we can do something custom that's cool for that truck. We'll talk and do something.
Wait a fucking minute. You can build us custom batteries?
Oh, here we go.
Oh my fucking God.
So,
here we go.
This guy right here.
Nathan,
you better tell Jim.
The biggest Jim. We built a 600 amp hour gorilla combo in.
I need it.
That's underneath Nathan Millyard's truck in that big tray.
That makes sense.
Yeah, Nathan's got 200,000 watts. You know what I mean? And we did a
bunch of that much.
Yeah.
Okay, so real quick, I got a couple questions for you about builds that I'm working on right now. First one, my buddy Byron, who is probably on here, but he hasn't commented shit. Are you on here, Byron? You're probably listening unless he fell asleep. He's a hardworking dude. We're working on Byron's build. He has 4 Salt 8Ks. And he might get a 5th one. And we're going to run either 16 or 20 Gately Audio Relentless Series 12. So he's going to be wired at 1.0 or maybe 0.8 ohms on these Salt 8Ks. And he wants to be able to demo like a motherfucker all day long. And we were planning on Gorilla batteries. We were thinking maybe.
Yeah, you don't want to run Gorillas on the Salts. They will run at high voltage, but you don't need to run.
The Salts. At that point, you're stressing the amplifier to keep the battery happy.
Salt
Are
stands
we
for
stressing the battery? Really?
SALT stands for Sundown Audio Low Voltage Technology. That's what SALT stands for. It's an acronym for Low Voltage Technology.
It wants to be.
I know that, but I didn't realize it was that low voltage.
No, 15.5 is like stressing the amplifier.
So we should put a bunch of G's, fucking retro 56s.
Correct. That's what you should do. Yep. You should put a bunch of 56s.
Or we should change his amplifiers to Gately Audio amplifiers that love 16 volts.
That's an option too. That's an option too.
Yeah,
I love when Jacob came out with the Salt amps because
they're badass. So the Gorillas are the answer. The good news is that I got like 11 or 12 or 13 of those motherfuckers in stock.
There you go.
Do you guys want to hear a really funny story? And by funny, I mean really sad and kind of disappointing and expensive. So we made like some really cool changes to our website. And in the process of doing that, we were going to put a bunch of the shit on Facebook. And so my wife was being really smart, and she was like, okay, let's put these products on the Facebook sales section of the thing. Well, Facebook was like, fuck you. We're going to upload every single product you have listed. And then it's going to fuck it all up. And it's going to make it weird and not work correctly at all. And so then we went, fuck that. Let's pull it all back down. And so then that was a giant nightmare, even just pulling the shit off of Facebook's sales thing. And then it fucked my whole website up. So about 70% of my website was no longer listed anywhere at all. Even though it was on my site, you didn't know it was there because you couldn't search it or find it, even if you tried to. So after about a month of us not knowing that it was that fucked up and being at SEMA and everybody having COVID and everything else, we figured out yesterday that was the case. And because a customer that I told to buy a Retro 56 from me was trying to find it on my website and couldn't fucking find it. And then I found that. And then I found that 70% of our website didn't fucking exist.
Wow, that sucks.
Well, I think I know exactly what you didn't have clicked on your pages.
It was no, because it was Shopify. And we didn't not click it. It got unclicked when we pulled it, when we removed it from Facebook's shit. It was a clusterfuck that we didn't know it was going to happen. Now, I bought 20 Retro 56s because I was like, I'm going to sell the shit out of these. And I was like, why the fuck aren't these selling?
That's why.
For about a month now. And so, anyway. That's what's up.
All right, guys. Well, we did 2.5 hours almost, and it's, I don't know, what time is it over there, Chris? Almost midnight?
11:30. Yep, 11:30.
Yeah, so
Chris,
we had a good show.
I will message you and tell you what I have going on that I can't talk about in public yet. But
all right.
But before we go, if anybody wants Limitless batteries, go to
SkyHigh.com, bitch.
Daily Audio.
We got a dealer. Keep an eye out for our new website dropping. It's going to actually have a dealer locator for all those dealers around the country so people can shop locally. You will be on it, Bobby.
That's fucking better be, bitch.
Yeah, exactly. So new website launching. You know, we refined it. We had a lot of different audio products on there. We took a lot of the stuff off and just refined it down to only a few brands so that it really wants to stay battery focused. You know what I mean? There's a few key brands that we work with that we put on there. We took all the other junk off.
I got an idea of a brand that you should have on your website.
And it should be, you're right.
Yeah.
Real quick, I have one more question for you.
Check out SoundQubed.com for our SoundQubed stuff too.
I wasn't done yet.
I appreciate
it. All
right,
Bobby. Two beer, Bobby. What do you got?
I got a brand new Jeep Grand Cherokee. And the customer's already purchased one Retro 56. We were planning on putting a Salt 6K. This Grand Cherokee has a stock AGM and then a secondary battery that is exactly right next to it. A little itty bitty battery, I think, is also an AGM. And then they have all of the fancy, voltage tracking, charge shit, gizmos all over that many Chrysler pieces of shit have.
I've never seen a car with two different group size batteries in it that I can remember.
They're definitely there's a little itty bitty one and there's a full size battery, and they are directly next to one another.
Is the smaller battery
What's the question?
Battery, or is it a capacitor for the auto stop start?
I believe that it has something to do with the auto stop start.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. Maybe it's something just for that.
I want to say I've heard that they use like small capacitor, capacitor
it's
banks.
A battery.
Is it? Yeah, so I don't know. I would research before you replace that, or send me that. I'll help you research on it, but I wouldn't replace that.
I'll contact you with regards that, and you'll tell me what I should do. I have space at another location to easily put that Retro 56, and it's whether or not I want to do a fucking battery delete with all of those fancy Chrysler gizmos feeding into that fucking battery or not. And we're gonna run. We were gonna run a Salt 6, but now we're gonna run a fucking Salt 8 and run two 15-inch nightshades in this thing. And I don't want a battery light on this fucking dash. Yeah. But I'll contact you, Chris, in the next couple of days.
Get with me, man. We'll help you research it. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you again. Appreciate all you guys' help.
All right, boys. Have a nice night. See y'all next week.
Later. Thank you.